targets on here. We should be good.
You have a huge computer. It shouldn't be a problem.
Well, I let you come in the exact same time I hit the broadcast button. I think that's what it was.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think that was.
I
should have done that.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, because the computer I'm using to stream when I'm streaming is not anywhere near as powerful.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. It was all done self-inflicted. So.
Yep.
So here you're going to be at Josh's basement, I think, Sunday.
Okay, yeah. I tried to prepare. I said that we will probably have a gab in on Sunday.
Yeah. I'm not sure what the topic is yet, though.
Okay, well, of course we talk about the upcoming GaryCon. That's kind of obvious.
I think we're going to dedicate a lot to it, but I was thinking of something else as well.
Even if it's not something that happens on the channel that much, but it's still, you're going to stream a lot from there, and a lot of this, we are going to be there, so I think it will be,
Yeah, no, it's a good idea. Haven't gotten any responses from those missing. Oh, speaking of the devil, I just did.
Okay, good, yeah. Started to add timestamps on chat that were done before you entered the room, and that kind of confused me because I thought things they started with that like a week or two ago.
Okay.
And that confused me because am I watching a replay or something? Because that happened before. But now I realize no. When you go in, if you go into a live room that has been, if you're not in there from the first comment, the earlier comments get a timestamp, so you can actually see them. That happened before you got in, so which I think is good. It's just that it was a new way of doing things. Start planning for our shows for.
Yeah, I think that's gonna. We got to do that. It's but I'm babbling. You leave Thursday, right?
No, I leave Friday actually.
Okay.
But
cool,
I'm basically offline from Thursday afternoon.
Yeah, and
tomorrow afternoon.
I travel all day tomorrow, and then go to take my son to piano, come home, feed him, and then have a game tomorrow night. So we're gonna have to dedicate some Josh basement time over the weekend to finalize some things, I think.
Yeah, bring my laptop and stuff last year. That's been part of me getting my laptop that I haven't used that much in the last year. So I get it wrapped up and installed.
Josh, you get the package yet, Josh?
I got mine at least, so yeah.
Hopefully it shows up. I mean, it said 9 o'clock tonight, but it hadn't delivered yet. So
okay,
Still looking. No Mike, no Casey yet.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just make a mistake and you don't even realize it, Dale. That's just my life. Rockfrog, good evening to you. We're all good here. Getting ready.
Yep.
I only got one more set of characters to do, and I just, do up for adventures. I got all the adventures done. I sent all the terrain I'm bringing and all the miniatures to Josh. So yeah, I got a lot What's up, Phantom 491? Good to see you. If everything's okay. Tonight. Be a good discussion tonight. Hopefully.
Yeah. Well, if they don't show me up, keep it up here.
Casey said he was getting on in a second. He Discorded.
That's good. That's good. Yeah.
I'm assuming Will will be around too, because the Bandit Kingdoms is his place, you know. So.
You know, I will be on traveling foot, but I will not be in Chicago until Friday night. But I will already be on the move, so to speak. So I have some other things I need to attend to tomorrow. So I will basically be leaving home tomorrow afternoon. Yeah.
Thank you.
Trollord Games, join the fray.
I got something done. I got my adventure card done. I think I put a copy in there for you. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. So hopefully it's sufficient.
I haven't read all the details.
Oh, it's very basic, but it's like a teaser. So
yeah.
Yeah.
We need to get the layout looked into and stuff like that for the final. Yep.
What's up, Mike? Still waiting on Casey.
Yeah.
We're early still. That was what was so great about Sunday night too, Anna. Everyone was on super early, all the guests, and we were like ready to go. We actually came on like 5 to 6 minutes early and got a lot of extra chat in. So Todd is now signing part of doing autographs at GaryCon. Josh told me, which is cool.
Oh yeah, I saw there were a lot of cool people having their slots for autographs and stuff.
Yeah, they asked me too, and I declined. I'm kidding.
No one asked me, and I understand why. Because I have a 2-hour-long seminar, so people who want an autograph can come.
I was talking with Josh today, and he's like, he goes to me, "Damn, Anna's doing a lot at GaryCon this year." Because we're checking just schedules and stuff.
Yeah, I've signed up for like 3 other things and stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, so there was a couple of seminars I wanted to see, and then I'm participating. Yeah, so I'm doing, but they're not long game sessions. They're 2-hour seminars or 1 hour.
Good.
So yeah, so there's a little bit of room in between, so to speak. So yeah. Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Casey.
Sorry I'm late.
It's really perfect. Yep.
You're fine.
Bang out. I thought my buddy Tom might be here by now. Let me poke him.
It's all good. Lots of fun tonight on the. This will be a good discussion.
Oh, absolutely. We did some BK Meta.org stuff like in June of 2021, but we did it with some other regions.
Yeah, and I didn't have all these. I didn't have all this either.
Well, I don't know why I didn't share that stuff 2 years ago, but I probably just...
Because we weren't really... Yeah, I mean, you may have given me a couple, but not on this level or, you know. So, it was, like, awesome.
I was thinking I should have emailed that. I'm not sure how easy it is.
No, that's easy to do one at a time like that. I didn't pull all the banners down and stuff. I just haven't had time. I've been so busy. Tomorrow's going to be a day from hell.
I just got behind today. I got promoted at work, and I've just...
Oh, nice.
That's good.
Yeah.
Haven't done that drawing yet tonight. Tonight's going to be an interesting drawing.
My buddy Tom has a paid DM session starting in 7 minutes and won't be joining us tonight.
All right, well, there you go. Money talks.
That happened in the past few days. It's the paid DM lifestyle.
Yeah, but on the other hand, that sounds like a good excuse. At least he's doing gaming instead of coming here. So, yeah.
He's doing Pathfinder 2E. You know?
Yeah, is that gaming? That's good gaming. Yeah.
I know. I'm just being silly.
Especially if that's like
Pathfinder 2E probably gained a lot of people in recent shenanigans.
Yeah, and especially if it's like a primary or a company relies on it, it's understandable.
Yeah, absolutely.
I find it too is a good game too.
So by the way, everyone, when you see the numbers, I was like within 80 of 10,000, and then Twitch must have done a clean house, and I lost 60 followers over the weekend. Isn't that great? It's just ridiculous.
You had bots disappear before.
Yeah, well, I had hundreds that time.
Yeah.
So, like people like Ninja and other guys, they had like a million disappear. It wasn't
had a whole bunch of Russian bots.
But this time I lost like 60. So I guess
that's when we did this. June 30th, 21. We did Duchy of Ernst and Zeiss Meta Orgs. So for the audience this time, we're just gonna dive into the Bandit Kingdoms. And we'll look to try and get Principality of the Ulick or
because I really am really happy about all the stuff they did there.
I'm kidding. Made contact with someone, and they have Wednesday night unavailability for the foreseeable future. And so I've said, can you give me any other names of former Triad members? And they're just very slow to respond because they're busy with real life, as I like to call it. So I'll shoot for, April or May for the POU, as we called it.
Yeah.
LG. Cool. This will be fun, and then maybe we can even start talking. Get Ed on here, and let's talk about the movie. We just all found out some stuff. Can we? Spoilers.
I didn't find out anything.
The movie you already knew.
What about the movie?
The movie's set in the Forgotten Realms.
Yeah, I knew that. They're talking his Harper symbol on.
Exactly, we knew that from.
I didn't pick up on it until
whenever Chris Pine's strolling around that ad, he's got a Harper symbol on it. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I didn't even figure that out. And the kids from the cartoon series, although the Brazilian commercial actors might have been a better casting.
Yeah.
I mean, they could spin off a bazillion things. I've got early screening tickets to the movie thanks to my Amazon Prime membership. I'm going on Saturday.
Nice.
Same,
here in
Casey.
Massachusetts. Yes. So if you have an Amazon Prime membership, you can get early screenings in a lot of areas. So go check that out.
I would love to go, but I have 2 words: Gary Kahn.
Yes.
3 prep, and I'm So we're coming live here. Why not? Maybe I hit another wrong button.
I assume our audio is already live.
Yeah, of course. Good evening, everyone. How is everyone doing? I'm Jay Killer Gazumba, and with me, as always, on a Wednesday night, Greyhawk Mike Bridges and Anna Meyer. Hey, Fable, good to see you. And guest, as he always is, during a BK. Let me rephrase that. Living Greyhawk session. Casey Brown or Draco, Triad from the BK era. But today we're going deep diving into the Bandit Kingdoms themselves. And I'm going to preempt something. Everything you want to know about this tonight is in this book.
Oh, thank you. That was early plug.
Early plug.
You can get on Amazon. How much is this on Amazon?
I think it's actually $8.95. I just always say $9.95.
There you go.
Have you lowered the price?
Nah, I think I lowered the price years ago.
Okay, I'm not sure what I paid for it, but it was something.
Also for tonight, Classic D&D reprint giveaways. Oh my gosh, you're reading my mind. Will include the option to get by William Henry Dvorak, Raven's Rook, which we all know is Rook Roost. To get this as one of the options for the Classic D&D reprint giveaways. If you don't have it in print, it's a good thing to get. That's an option, along with Treasures of Greyhawk and a lot of the other things going on. So just note that. Yep. So there you go. All right.
Shout out to Will, because this is a nice. Look how thick this book is. I don't know if you can see. My camera's not the greatest at this point. Drive-Thru RPG, I think, maybe his preferred vendor for the hard copy and PDF.
Absolutely.
So shout out there to Will.
Yep.
Yeah, Will's kind enough to give a bunch of those away for the fundraiser. So I got one left here, and we'll that's an option for tonight.
I just got my copy recently, and now I can't find it.
So quick update tonight, Thursday, tomorrow night's game. We finished the Crovis adventure, and then Sunday. Normal Gab and Anna will be over at Josh's house from the basement there, And then it's all gonna be streaming from and like stream galore from GaryCon, which we're gonna go over Sunday night. Okay, just so you know, because it's the schedule is fluid depending on. I'm talking about the night schedule is fluid depending on all the stuff that's going on, and it will start Wednesday night before GaryCon even starts, and we'll get into that. Hey Gary, thanks. Thank you very much.
Do we know if Ed has a cameo in it like Stan Lee used to?
I don't think so.
You haven't been able.
I don't think he does.
Figured you could get that info out of him. That'd be a shame if they didn't do that.
I think he has an NDA. He can't say anything.
Yeah, he can't say. But I don't think he's involved. I don't think
that's my guess.
I'm all sad. Check with some zeros at the end of it for it because I'm pretty excited about it. The trailers. I know it's not BK related, but I think.
Yeah, I mean, it got 92 on Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb or whatever. So I'm just so sad. Yeah. I'm heartbroken. They canceled Willow after one season. No, I'm not.
I couldn't even watch. I saw
it was terrible.
Nerds talking about how bad it was. My nerd friends. I just didn't want to.
Yeah, what a shame. Because the original.
But we digress.
Yeah,
we're
allowed to.
We can get a BK show. That'll be.
Yeah, we're allowed to here.
If I win the lottery.
So, the Bandit Kingdoms.
Yep.
Absolutely. Where do you want to start?
Wow. Where do we want to start? Mike, where do you want to start? Because you tend to.
Where do I want to start?
Where do you want to start with Bandit Kingdoms discussion? How about this? Just start at the beginning and how the meta orgs came about and who was responsible, and how that happened, how all these meta orgs, really a ton. I mean, I have a boatload of these that Casey just threw me in. It's like, I don't know. What do I got? 60? It looks like I got 60.
Well, some of that might include the mercenaries. I'm trying to do a quick count of the actual meta organizations themselves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. That's a good question. I just 15, 16.
Yeah, sorry. So watch. Good question. Good question. We're going to do that right now, Bright Soul. All right, because the reference point's always out the mirror because I'm a son of a bitch. All right, so here is, and now we're going to go, dun, 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 Celine, up here to Wild Coast, Greyhawk City, okay, near Deve, Shieldlands, and now we're getting into the area of the Bandit Kingdoms, Rift Canyon, the Bandit Kingdoms. Here we go. This area here. All this Bandit Kingdoms. Okay? I'll just leave it.
And in some of the older canon sources, it actually goes all the way up to the Rovers of the Barrens are kind of lumped in with it.
Well, yeah, here you got
some of the Dragon magazine articles of the Felry Forest.
Oh, yeah. So
all the way to the mountains, the bluff hills, to the Griff, the border of the Griff.
It touches
canonical Bandit Kingdoms. There's just nothing there, so I think they quit worrying about it.
Thanks, Delawa, for getting us that hype. Really appreciate it. Yeah, so
that was a big question to start off with, Jay, and some of that predates me, but during Living Greyhawks, there was a mechanism created fairly early on in the campaign, possibly year 0 or year 1, where PCs could join organizations. And these are in-character organizations, so hence the term meta org, because they are meta to the story in the game. They're things your character can actually join. They theoretically will have an impact in the living nature of the campaign in some way, shape, or form. And they provide various benefits and rewards and have various costs. Early versions, you got a certificate, an actual paper certificate. You would go to a convention, you would say, my elf wants to join. Like for the BK, there's the Fan Laurentian Elves. They're a canon group from I Use the Evil of wood elves living in the Felry Forest who are very anti-IUs and not super friendly to humans and others. But they're in I Use the Evil, so the Bandit Kingdoms early triad makes a Fan Laurentian elf meta org. NPCs like me who created an elf in the Bandit Kingdoms could meet the requirements to join this meta org, and it would give certain in-game benefits or material access. And Jay, I'd sent you an example, I think, of an early cert, but I know I sent you so many documents.
Dude, you're just gonna have to tell me which one to pull out, and the old ones I didn't do. You said the retro earlier ones I didn't. I did all the ones in the front, and they're in alphabetical order.
That's the one I'm talking about. I only sent you like one of the super old ones, but that's fine. Just imagine a piece of paper that says you have joined the Fanlarshan Elves, and it's pretty, and it's got colors on it, and it says, for 4 time units. Now, time units equals play opportunity in Living Greyhawk. Each character, about 52 of them a year. They don't correspond to weeks. That's what they always told us. But you would trade TUs to play an adventure. 1 TU for regional adventures, 2 TU for core adventures, 1 TU for interactives in your own region, et cetera, et cetera. You might trade 4 TUs to gain access to a meta org, and that would represent you patrolling for that meta org. Off-screen stuff. So anyway,
I got an idea. I know you stepped up before. I'm gonna ship this, right? We're gonna do 2 giveaways. I'm gonna do this. Okay. We're gonna give one of these away. How's that sound?
Yeah, absolutely.
There you go. So if you do not have this, you have an option to get this, the Bandit Kingdoms, and we're also going to do Will's Raven's Rook, 2 giveaways.
That's a great pairing right there.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. So here's a lot of our viewers don't know about the Bandit Kingdoms, Casey. Okay. So let's even step back further. And then Mike and if you have any questions for Casey, stepping back. How many Bandit Kingdoms are there during this time frame?
Oh. About 13.
13. Okay, cool.
Most of our canon, and it's the combination of free lords if we want to get super official.
Right.
What do we know about the history of the Bandit Kingdoms? Meaning,
John, thank you.
Back in what are the? Do we know when these realms were formed and by who and so on?
Gygax himself gave information in Dragons 63 and 56.
Yep.
Yeah.
They were when he talks about like the Northern Army, what's going on in the North, and like the Circles of Power article. He actually has this article detailing what summoning circles were doing in Greyhawk. And oddly enough, stuff about the Bandit Kingdoms was also tacked onto that article.
Yeah.
And
in that article, he details troop numbers, names of regions, and the leader's name and 1E class levels and alignment, I think, as well. Like Prince Zeech of Alhaster is a fighter cleric. Things of that nature we learned. In earlier canon, in the box sets, the folios and whatnot, Bandit Kingdoms, get some description as a rough and tough area, and it's mostly chaotic neutral, and some parts of it don't grow grain very well, but the short version is it's an ex-Great Kingdom outpost where minor Erdi nobles came to play at building their own castles and towers at the border of the wilderness. It was the Wild West, so to speak.
I got the sense that it was just past the formal borders of the Great Kingdom, so to speak. It was outside of the formalized realms of the Great Kingdom. It was on the wild frontier. That's why
it reminds me of England with the Roman Empire.
Well, Scotland under the Roman Empire, or Wales under the Roman Empire.
I would say after the Romans left.
Yeah.
When it evolved technologically and culturally, and if there's any 1,500-year-old Brits in the audience, I apologize, but I won't take that back. So the Erdi minor nobility who came out, imagine second and third sons who had no ability to progress in the Great Kingdom, right? Maybe they didn't want to join the clergy and they didn't want to join the military, or maybe they got kicked out for being buffoons. They might come out here and seek their fortune, and be lorded it over the local Flan tribes. They were richer, more technologically advanced, presumably, than the Flan, maybe better magic, because the Flan were long gone at this point. So we know a lot of this kind of gets summed up in the Gazetteer. I believe Holian and crew actually talk about the Iridians, quote, lording it over the Flan. So the Bandit Kingdoms was kind of set up to be Iridian nobles and Flan peasants. But you get pockets of where the Flan kind of like the kingdom of Yorays, if I remember correctly, went from being Iridian nobles to the most powerful fighter becomes a noble and becomes a king. So they no longer care about bloodlines. But Alhaster in Red Hand was formerly part of the Shieldlands. And Shieldlands is definitely a Great Kingdom outpost, right?
Yeah.
So it's all
definitely.
South, right?
So it's primarily Iridian in nature and design. And to me, Alhaster is a very orderly, clean, white. We described it as whitewashed. Everything was painted white. It had this sea breeze from the near div. It was mostly pleasant, except for the fact that Zeech had become this pirate dedicated to Hextor.
And that was one of the reasons that the Shieldlands is not part of the Bandit Kingdom, is that it was organized Iridian rule, Great Kingdom, and so on and so forth. And most of it was land, and it was lands that could be up for grabs, so to speak. And I think you spot on when you say young nobles that weren't landed lords in the Great Kingdom. They had to go up there and try to grab new land, and that was probably very encouraged by the higher nobility and the Overking, because that expanded his empire too, because these were supposed to be so I think that sums up
sending taxes back.
Exactly, that sums up my view of the history of the Bandit Kingdom too. It was the frontier of the Great Kingdom, so to speak. That was not really formally settled or included in the Great Kingdom. That was the playground of various stuff, and that probably why it got a reputation of being, and it also became chaotic. It was not organized rule. It was no formal law included and stuff like that. It was haphazard warlordism run rampant, so to speak.
Yeah, it's not a breadbasket. If you look at it from a weather and land perspective, like Anna probably has more than any of us.
Well, it's steppe.
It's arid. It's arid steppes.
And steppe means that it. Oh, sorry. Go on.
No. Go ahead, Anna.
I was going to say it's cold. I have it as cold steppes, which means that it's cold winters and warm to hot summers, but and low precipitation all year round. There's a little bit of rain almost any season, so to speak. So it's not dry like a desert, and it's not temperate. So the season can have a little bit of rain almost whenever, and the winters can be brutally cold, and the summers can it's a bit like Siberia or the center of North America, parts of it, so to speak, the west of the Great Lakes, when it starts drying out a bit.
I think we tend to think of it as like Montana and the Dakotas. It's got the Badlands of the Dakotas in the Rift Barrens.
I think that's a very good description, I think.
And then you get the Rehu there, the land right under the Rift Canyon, Jay. That's the actual breadbasket. That was actually a grain producing area of the Bandit Kingdoms. It was close enough to the near div, and it was bordered by the river there, the Artonsame. I imagine that there's a flooding, an annual flooding.
Annual flooding. You're closer to big bodies of water, so you get what the climate called humid continental, which is a lot of Europe and large part of the Midwest in the U.S. have, so to speak, rather than the more western states.
And the Artonsame, according to canon, is navigable all the way up to the Duchy of Tin's town, Redspan?
Redspan, and probably small boats all the way up to Rookroost, my guess.
Right. And living Greyhawk, we just said, to hell with that. They've dredged it. It's navigable all the way up to Rookroost, because if you're going to have a city of 25,000 adult men or whatever it is, the total population of Rookroost, it needs a proper river for traffic. Like, I imagined it as Cincinnati on the Ohio River. And Cincinnati would not exist without the Ohio River.
And I totally agree, because I think that's why they built the biggest city up there, is that, and I also think that might explain why there's a Redspan and then there's a Rookroost, meaning Redspan is the naturally furthest point you can go. And then when you improve and smooth over certain ugly bits on the river, you can go all the way up to Rookroost. Right. So I think that also makes great sense. Yep.
And we had adventures where small boats could go from Rookroost into the Fellreeve. And the Cold Run River is a branch or feeds into a tributary, I guess, of the Artonsame there and the Fellreeve Forest. And we get canon descriptions from the Gazetteer of like the type of fish that are in the Fellreeve, and that, the waters are cold or whatever, because they're coming out of the northern rovers area, the Barrens and whatnot. So we decided like it would make more sense for trade if the Artansimé was more navigable, and we created a meta org around the Renee, or some. You say Renee or Renee? I say Renee.
I say Renee, but we don't know how it's supposed to be.
Renee?
Yeah.
So the gypsy folk,
Yeah.
And we created a meta org. So PCs could create Rhenish PCs.
Thank you.
During Living Greyhawk. You could choose your sub-race of humans, right? And so we created a group that was called the Red Planks, and they were known for painting their boats like the same red we might paint our decks. That's kind of the color I have in my mind. For most of America, our decks are this very maroon red color. But maybe it was a proper bright red. And they were called the Red Planks, and PCs could join them, and they would get access to things like prestige classes like the Dark Guard or the Vetha, which were 3.5 prestige classes based.
So those were in play?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Living Greyhawk would allow prestige classes from other sources after they'd been vetted by the Circle or the Triad members. Some were more easily accessed than others. Some were open, right? Anyone could play a Dragon Disciple because it was in the Dungeon Master's Guide. You just had to meet the requirements. And some regions could ban things. Some regions didn't ban things. Like, I think we said in the Bandit Kingdoms, you could only be a Dragon Disciple of a red dragon because one of our main antagonists was Morgenstaller, the red dragon of the Rift. Other regions probably said no Dragon Disciples, whatever, because they're just goofy looking and we hate them. So we had a Red Planks meta organization, and they had different paths through life. We got really detailed. Some of these other regions we've talked to, they've had a ton of organizations. And the DK, we had fewer orgs. We had like 20, but they had different paths and ranks. So we had like, in the Red Planks, you could be a boatman, or you could be an entertainer, or you could be a spell weaver, or a healer. Now, remember, in the Renee culture, only women were supposed to be spellcasters, and they had no divine spellcasters because they don't acknowledge any of Oerth's gods. So we played with that. We played with the Renee witch archetype, the Vetha prestige class. So through the meta org, players could gain access to that so that they could have the character that they wanted to have.
So wait, so you said red. So all right, I have one of those.
Okay.
Let me bring it up. I'm assuming this is the Red Planks Wise Woman.
Red Planks Wise Woman. Which one are you looking at?
Hold on one second. I'll bring it up here.
Yeah.
And then we'll go from there.
Because I'm looking at the 595 book.
I got this 597.
Oh, you got the meta AR. Yeah. Excellent. So I will explain.
Red Planks Wise Woman. Yeah.
Okay. So that is called a meta adventure record. Meta because it pertains to the meta orgs. Adventure record because in Living Greyhawk, which was often called Living Accounting, you had to have a paper trail for everything you did. And I'm actually pulling up my copy so I can follow along at home. You said that's the Wise Woman? All right.
Yeah, it must have played at least one Bandit Kingdoms regional event. Must be female human Renee or female half-elf Renee. Must be Rennie, however you say it. And then how you went up.
You're stuck. You're going to say it like I did from now on.
Rennie.
I think Renee just sounds so much better. Must be able to cast first level arcane spells. Had to spend 2 time units. So you would spend 2 weeks, so to speak, doing Wise Woman training. And then you can progress through this meta org. In 6 months' time, you can go from student to Farseer. You must be able to cast 3rd level arcane spells now. You must have certain feats, and you have to spend another week doing Wise Woman stuff. And then you can progress all the way up to Wise Woman, and you can cast 5th level arcane spells or 2nd level Vetha spells, because Vethas had their own spell progression tables. And you must have some more feats. But you can see the access scheme for membership was, if you scroll down, Jay, into the next box, the access scheme for membership was the actual items from Splat books, because you couldn't just go out and get the feat Second Sight from Dragon Magazine 319.
Okay.
That wasn't just something a player could say, I've taken in Living Greyhawk. Core things were open. Everything else was not allowed unless you had a rule granting you access to it generally. So whatever that feat was, Second Sight, me or whoever else worked on this said, you know what, that'd be really cool for Avetha to gain access to. So we were constantly data mining 3.5 WotC products, never any third-party stuff, and going like, oh, that would make sense for a cleric of Tritherion to get access to, or that would make sense for a cleric of Ralashaz to get access to. Let's put it in their meta org. I mean, if you look, there's equipment from the Arms and Equipment Guide that you can't just buy a boot sheath, oddly enough. You know, it has to be from the Arms and Equipment Guide. You have to have access. The meta orgs filled two purposes: role-playing, so that your character was a member of a meta org and could interact with the story to a greater extent, and access, because if you want to be a witch, you need witchy things. It's kind of how we look at it.
So I don't detect this level of, I'm not going to use the word pilfering, but scouring the sources and pulling from even other regions in some cases that other areas were doing. Mike, Anna, do you agree with me on this? It doesn't sound like that this was happening as much. Everyone else was doing their own thing, whereas the Bandit Kingdoms were taking from others, which is typical for bandits.
Well, I think all campaigns seem to have at least poked around the fence in the neighboring triad. And weren't there like regional coordination and you had meetings and the people higher ups kind of took ideas and stuff? But
so we had rules. The circle members said, here's a book that will explain what you can and cannot do with meta orgs. And some regions chose to explore option A more than option B, or vice versa. Like, we know Vernon and the Verbabonk people went after that land where people could build players could build towns.
Well, one question in this: were characters, meaning characters need to be compatible with all the, so you can take a character, can go on vacation and adventure in some other place or something. So characters needed to be fully compatible, so you couldn't go off and change the rules, and it needed to be strict compatibility between the different triads and regions, or how was that?
No, that was part of the friction and fun of the campaign. Let's say in the Shieldlands, you're lawful stupid, right? You're in the Shieldlands, you're playing this Int 8 Paladin, and you're loving life because all you're doing is fighting demons and undead and whatnot, and you get kitted out for it. All your gear, all your meta orgs, all your playing opportunities are designed around fighting, undead and stuff, and you would be equipped for that. And you might take your stuff to another region if you traveled to Gen Con and got to play other regionals. If you physically traveled in the real world, you could go to other regions, and that region might be like, oh man, we really wish this guy didn't have that feat. We think it's too powerful, and we would never give access to it. But if that player had the paper trail for that feat for his character, it was legal no matter what. That's just the way the game worked.
So you needed that, like almost like a passport if you're going to another country.
Yeah, I'm picking on the Shieldlands. I hope Eric Anonson doesn't get mad.
There he is. When he just handed out belts of magnificence and others didn't, then you won that over. Lots of fun. He's busting your stones back.
That's why I call it Sheldamar Valley, the land of milk and honey, because their adventures handed out some what we would consider over-the-top access in the Bandit Kingdoms. We wanted a grittier. We wanted it to be easier for PCs to die in the Bandit Kingdoms. We want things to be scary. We didn't want them to be super powered with their gear and equipment. And other regions were like, dude, we're fighting giants all the time. You need to have access to intelligent spears that can help you roll initiative or stuff like that. Spells. The Tomb of Magic, I think it was the 3.5 splat book for spells came out, and the Circle said, hey, to help sell the book, we need to make a lot of the spells from it legal, because you can't use the spells in the campaign unless you own the book. That was the Living Greyhawk rule. You had to have the book at the table with you. This is before virtual tabletop play for Living Greyhawk. Although you could play a little bit virtually, but that was very slow and clunky.
Weird.
Yeah, 20 years ago, super slow, super clunky. So Tomb of Magic comes out, and it's just got a bunch of broken-ass spells in it that the Circle, in my opinion, does a poor job of reviewing. And we get spells like Anticipate Teleportation. Tons of demons have teleport as a special ability, and that's how they get their surprise round. They know where you're at. They're scrying you. Someone else is scrying you. They tell the demon, teleport here and attack these idiots. Now we have the spell Anticipate Teleport. The caster gets like a 3-round warning. Hey, we've got incoming bad guys. Party buff, 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 buff. Demons arrive. You get their asses kicked. No one's surprised. Completely wrecked a ton of our tropey encounters in the Bandit King. There's a spell that brings back someone who had just died. Like if they've died within the past minute, you bring them back to life. Very similar to Revivify in 5e. Completely changed how the game was played, because before, sure, you had Raise Dead, but it was expensive and there were penalties or other options like Reincarnate. But with this spell, which for the love of God, I forget the name of this spell, you can die on the battlefield and your cleric can bring you back to life with basically no penalty. And so people were far more stupid tactically. There was less chance of a permanent consequence.
What level was that spell?
I think it was a 3rd or 4th level spell, because Raise Dead was 5th level. God, I can't remember. No, it wasn't Endless Life.
Blessing of Life, Justinian says. Blessing of Life?
No, it wasn't Blessing of Life. It's in Tomb of Magic, I think. Someone can find it, but so for the love of God, I can't remember the name of it.
So if you fell in combat, they can...
This isn't a plug. I think I bitch about it.
Sam White says Revivify.
Delay Death. I think that's one of the ones I specifically call out in my book. But Delay Death means like no matter how much damage you take, you don't die until that spell ends. And that gives people plenty of time to heal you at the end of a combat.
That's Core Player's Handbook.
So then we get into an arms race of what's allowed from the book with other regions, with our region, with our players. And the arms race was a problem. I gave monsters Delayed Death. You know, if you guys are going to start abusing it, I'm going to abuse it. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So that's a great description, though, of what's going on at this time frame. So this is 3rd edition era. You have post Greyhawk Wars. You got IU's Priest controlling how much? Every Bandit Kingdom area land?
It's tricky to say. No, not all of them. There were 4 regional capitals. We know from the canon: Rookroost, Stoink, Halorn, and Rift Crag were the 4 regional capitals where Iusians or Iusian allies were installed in the leadership positions. The Felreave was actively fighting Iusian incursions. It was not controlled by the Iusians, but they did have over there to the right. They have a fort at the eastern border there. So zoom in, because I forget. Fort Skagund over to the right. Now, that's Ray Hugh Humans, Hendrix and Scorn. But Fort Skagund, that's an Iusian fort that you can see the road built from Grouster, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And they're going in there and they're trying to denude the forest and they're trying to build up a force to attack the elves and whatnot. But what they're really doing, according to us, is that they're looking for Neryl's Bane, which is a canon mysterious location in the northern border of the Felreave Forest.
Yeah.
That has to tie in with like ancient clan ideas.
Here.
Yeah, I mean that's I think where it is in canon.
Roughly.
That's a canon place. That should be on the Zavoda Index.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
So our theory was the Iusians were looking for Neryl's Bane because they wanted to unlock the large army of undead that they thought were buried there to protect them from Nerul. That makes any sense.
Got it.
The plan buried people there so that Nerul couldn't do anything to them, and the Iusians wanted to go get those dead bodies to raise them.
All right.
One of our plot points.
So we know there were capitals. Dimri, clear?
Dimri was non-Iusian. They had forced the Iusians to the treaty table during the during the Greyhawk Wars. And I detail my imagination of how that happened in my book, in the back matter, in the chronology.
$8.95 on Amazon, and we will give one away tonight.
I know, I'm going to get wore out saying that tonight, so I'm not going to say that anymore. But the Dimrites are Fultons who are crazy people. They are lawful neutral, self-flagellating, so they whip themselves.
Nice!
They believe that to walk in the light, one must first walk in the darkness. And I think we've actually seen this theme now on 2 different shows. I think Warrior Nun almost used that line verbatim in one of its episodes. And Arya, when she's training to be a faceless man, they blind her so that she learns how to walk in the darkness before she can see in the light. Of course, I doubt any of those writers had any concept that Dimray was doing this in Greyhawk. And all that comes from the Living Greyhawk Gazetteer, if I remember correctly. We knew they were Fultons, but I think them being apostates comes from the Gazetteer. And Gary might correct me on that. Hey, Baron Ulick's in the audience. He was a vassal in character to Prince Zeech. He was the Baron Mornon.
Ah, okay.
Nice. And that's Patrick Brown of Architect fame as well. So,
really cool.
Good to have him in the audience. So, Dimray is a bunch of clerics of Foltest, lawful neutral, don't take no crap from the Iusians. And we didn't do a ton there, but we had some adventures in that region that dealt with their relations with the neighboring, the Pale, but I don't really recall us doing too much crossover with that. So mostly background kind of stuff with a few adventures here and there where a cleric of Foltest hires you to go recover a Fulton relic or something like that. Just south of Dimray, when we have Stoink. In Stoink, we have in canon from Gary's novels. Right? From the Gore the Rogue series, Stoink is pretty major in that. In Stoink, in the Living Greyhawk Gazetteer, or in canon, has Boss Delaney or Delny, Dhaelny. I think this is from memory.
Yeah.
The Gazetteer off-screen replaces him with Boss Rimphus the Mottled, and has a story about how the Iusian commander wants to intimidate the civilian leader of Stoink and sends a Glabrezu demon. In 5e, Glabrezu is like a CR13, pretty badass demon, to go intimidate Boss Rimphus the Mottled. And that demon is later found drunk in a gutter. Right? Well, demons are immune to poison, so alcohol shouldn't be able to get them drunk. My theory is that Boss Rimphus the Mottled is actually a slod. Some sort of, not a death slot, but one of the, like a gray slot or one of the more powerful slotty from, and that's why it was able to bitch slap a Glabrezu, because it was a more powerful outsider. But that's my own headcanon, and I kind of snuck in references, I think, here and there to our stories.
Nice.
I was close on the spelling, Sam. It's been like 15 years. Right, and exactly. He's referencing Daily of Chicago.
Well, lots of cool stuff, and hopefully that helps with some background for everyone knowing going into Living Greyhawk era that there's a lot going on in this area. It's probably the most, I don't want to say diverse is the right word, but most, there's action going on no matter where you are constantly, right?
That's true.
You know?
And you could join in these towns. We just talked about Dimray, Jay. You could pull up. There are Dimray meta-orgs.
I saw that. Yeah,
you could join the army. They could be a citizen where they just own a apartment there. They could join the clergy, or they could be part of the secret police.
That's what I was going to ask, Casey, is you got so many different regions in BK that are different flavors. So when you make a character from the Bandit Kingdoms, do you pick a hometown or something like that?
Living Greyhawk should have made people pick hometowns, but not everyone was steeped in the Greyhawk lore. People made characters before they even knew where the info was online, right? Like if you bought the Gazetteer, it had the rules in the back of it for making a character. Those things got updated online as the rules got adjusted. But if you were savvy, if you were a Greyhawk fan and you were like, oh, hey, my region is the Bandit Kingdoms. I read about Stoink in Gary's novels. I want my character to be from Stoink. You could do that. Later in the campaign, I think we eventually had a meta-org or two, like the Thieves Guild. I think we had the Stoink Thieves Guild that you could be a member of. But early in the campaign, that wasn't available.
So by default, you're just a general...
But you could say, hey, I want to be from Rookroost because I'm in the Rookroost Thieves Guild. I want to be from the Fell Reef because I'm a wood elf.
But until you take a meta org geared towards one of these towns, you didn't have
right.
anything to
You
back
can
it up.
always say where you're from, right? This is the kind of game. Yeah. The thing we frowned on was people saying out of character, my PC is the son of some NPC or nobility, anything like that. No, you don't get to have that authority, right? But if you say my guy's a schmuck from a farm outside of Rook Roost, we'd all be like, so are the rest of us. We're totally okay with that. And as the game develops, maybe you're like, you know what? I think I would have been from Halorn because I would rather have been this. That's your backstory. No one's going to sit there and argue with you that you changed your backstory from 3 years ago because no one's paying that much attention. We're sitting down and we're rolling dice for 4 hours.
Yeah.
As long as someone didn't say like they were the son of Ayuz and really mean it and try and use that to their advantage, no one gave a crap. Now, if someone's character was a high charisma rogue who wanted to tell people he was the son of Ayuz to try and intimidate him, that we welcome.
Or you put a beat down. Now, I know you don't have to tell the whole story. Who's the guy who you tied to the tower?
The Sage of Rook Roost.
The Sage of Rook Roost.
He was a PC who called himself the Sage of Rook Roost, which was generally fine. He was a high level, like 13th or 15th level elven wizard whose hometown was Rook Roost, and he was very proud of his Bill Openlander. That's the gentleman's name, and I've chatted with him online not too long ago. And Bill called himself the Sage of Rook Roost. He was, as we would say in 3rd edition, he was twinked out for the knowledge skills. He was a good spellcaster. And so he would solve a lot of problems in adventures, either through his character's intelligence or through magic. And you could ask him his character any question. He would roll the knowledge check and he would get in the 30s, right? 3rd edition is a different animal from 5e. Things didn't really get hard till you hit DC 30 in 3rd edition at mid and higher levels. Now in 5e, it's DC 20. Anyway, he mouths off. He goes on an adventure. He does some bad stuff to one of Ayuz's lairs in the Burning Cliffs. He leaves a note, and it's printed in my book, in the back of the book, and he taunts one of the Bonehearts. And he posted this note publicly on a Yahoo group, in character. Some of the regions had in-character Yahoo groups. You've heard
That's awesome.
The deaf people talk about them. We've had them. And so those of us who were trying it at the time were like, well, we're not going to let that go unnoticed, are we? So we needed to respond appropriately for the game and appropriate for the NPCs.
Page 79, everyone. Letter from the Sage of Rook Roost to the Greater Bone.
That's how good it was that I put it in my book. I was like, yeah, dear Jumper. So first of all, writing a letter to Jumper is a bad idea, especially after you've just destroyed one of his labs. And then you taunt him about destroying one of his labs. Jumper's much more powerful, has access to crazy divinations, figures out who this bozo is, where he is. And during one of our interactives at a convention, I think it was AggieCon 2005 or 2006, he sends Bone Shadow Keek specifically after the Sage of Rook Roost. And Keek is a crazy NPC in canon, right? He's usually with Lord Obmi.
Yeah, he's in the court books. He's portrayed in the court books.
Oh my!
Well,
yeah, and I think he's powerful in his own right.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget exactly how Theo had him statted up. I've got the stats somewhere, but he's probably 18th or 20th level because there was level creep big time in Living Greyhawk.
Yeah, he's some roguish kind of character.
He's a rogue wizard. Right,
okay.
He's a multi-class rogue wizard, so he had all kinds of weird, crazy crossover abilities. But the whole point of this is we had an interactive, and Bill Oppenlander's PC, the Sage of Rook Roost, we told him, you need to be at this interactive if you can make it at all possible, and you have to play the Sage of Rook Roost if at all possible. Bill was very excited. He was like, oh, this is great. What am I getting? I'm getting some special reward for being
It's a trap.
Being so smart. No, dude, you should have stayed home. So he comes to the interactive, and we had like a big battle going on in one room for 80 people. And we've got 10 tables or 12 tables all doing a big battle. And then we had a table for 6 players, APL 14, or 16, a high level table. And they thought they were getting a special treat. They were going on a special mission, like infiltrate Pranzer's lair in the abyss or something. I'm sorry, but I don't remember it right now.
Right.
But it's in the book. But anyway, Keek shows up and they're all like, oh shit, because they recognize Keek, but no one's seen him yet in Living Greyhawk because we haven't had him make an appearance. They just know, those who've read I Use the Evil are like, run, 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 teleport. Keek casts like Time Stop and Shatter or Glass Steel, he casts Flesh to Stone and then a Quicken Shatter on the Sage of Rookroos. That's what he did. He cast like a Time Stop and then a Flesh to Stone and then a Quicken Shatter. And he'd won initiative because he'd used a Wish spell. Like the next combat encounter I get in, I wish that I win initiative, which is one of the things you can wish for in 3rd edition with the Wish spell. So the Bill really had no chance. It was not a very fair encounter and was designed not to be fair because we wanted to teach the region a lesson. If you mouth off to the Bonehearts, they're going to come back for you. And after he got shattered, Keek stood there and looked at the rest of the PCs and was like, okay, do you want me to kill you too, or do you want to just leave? And the rest of the party just said nope. And just, these are 15th and 15th level, very powerful characters. They just noped their butts on out of that encounter and left Keek. Keek gathered up the stony, shattered remains of the Sage of Rookroos. They took him, this is all off screen at this point. They took him back to Doraka. They reassembled him and cast Stone to Flesh. They tied him to the walls of a tower. And they put a ring of regeneration on his finger, and they allowed the demons of the city to eat him. 24/7, he was being eaten alive, but the ring of regeneration kept him alive. So off screen, he goes mad. Later, a PC during an interactive in Divers used a wish spell to rescue the Sage of Rookroos. But at that point, we called Bill. We said, "You're retired. You can never play this character again." But you did get rescued by use of a wish spell. So that's kind of the shortest possible version I can tell of that story.
So there were certain exceptions that they had to go up to the Triad and they had to determine the fate of certain characters and stuff. Then,
I mean, when they got our notice like that, most of the time, the main notice in the region was tracked through the Wanted by the Church of Ayuz mechanic. Which, Jay, there's meta ARs for that as well.
Which ones? I'm sorry. Yeah.
Wanted by the Church of Ayuz.
Yeah, I saw that. I actually put that up. It's in a Word doc, so that could be a problem. Oh, I should have converted it. It's my fault. Yeah, I should have.
No, I probably have a PDF of it somewhere.
Yeah, but crap.
Yeah, where's the one? Well, the short version is.
Hold on.
During Bandit Kingdoms adventure, you were often targeting Ayuzian people, Ayuzian strongholds, Ayuzian clans, Ayuzian monsters, and if you left survivors, those Ayuzians would report back to their leadership and say, "Hey, these 6 bozos who look like this, and this attacked us," and they would make wanted posters.
I got it.
And the more wanted posters you appeared on, the more infamous you became with the hierarchy of the Church of Ayuz and the Bandit Kingdoms. So we had to have a mechanic that said, if you have 4 wanted posters, then they will target you first in combat. You have to tell the dungeon master, things like that. Yeah, that's the first page of the Wanted by the Church of Ayuz. I did a lot of the lifting on this in later years, but I think my predecessors kind of came up with the core concept. So the Ayuzians... some PCs who were chaotic neutral would be in league with the Ayuzians in non-evil ways. Obviously, PCs weren't allowed to rape and pillage and murder and do all the things that the Ayuzians would be known for doing. But they could be like, you know what? I would like to get a house and some land. I'm actually going to be chaotic neutral, and I'm going to not attack the Ayuzians, or I will secretly try to sell out the other players. That didn't happen super often because people would get really mad, as you can imagine.
Collaborators.
Right, exactly. But you had some borderline collaboration that was allowed and even encouraged. But we didn't want it becoming a real world problem. And they wanted Living Greyhawk to be a heroic campaign. Eric Mona said that at the very start, if I remember correctly. They should never have allowed the Bandit Kingdoms. In canon, Bandit Kingdoms are chaotic neutral and chaotic evil for the vast majority of its population.
I love this. Note your PC's wanted status does not change with death.
That's right. And until they are confirmed that you're disintegrated or something, you are still wanted. Because they know about the Raise Dead spell. Jay, if you could, which document was that?
What this is wanted by Church of Ayus.
Okay, because I need to find my copy so I can follow along. But if you scroll down through it, you'll see the different levels. Oh, there it is. That's the Word doc.
Baroniak says, I forget who came up with it. Yeah, I just converted it to PDF. Our idea specifically, one night I think Britt and Rob and I and Tom were talking, and we commented how we were doing so much bad stuff to Ayus, and how we were getting away with that. Okay.
Yeah, that's Baron. Patrick wrote a lot of adventures for the Bandit Kingdoms. He was a triad assistant in various different ways. He ran a lot of the interactives. He was very integral to the region. I kind of thought my memory was that Jason Kovitz and Doug Powell and Michael Garris maybe actually came up with the first codification for wanted by the Church of Ayus. If you got captured, your PC would be sent to the mines in the Rift Canyon. There are silver mines there. In canon, Ayus wants the Bandit Kingdoms basically for the Rift Canyon because it has silver mines, and he needs that to pay his troops, pay for people to build boats on the near div or wherever, et cetera, et cetera. So if your character got captured during an adventure, you would get sent to the silver mines, and you would get a certificate saying you have whip scars. And my character has that. Like in her third or fifth adventure, she failed so hard she got whip scars. She survived, but she lost all of her gear.
Wow. And look at this. Eyes in the back of your head. So you even have benefits based on...
Yes, you would get benefits from it. What page are you on?
It doesn't say, they're not numbered.
So, there aren't... Wow, bad Casey. So on page 2 of the PDF, one of the ways to reflect the region is the Ayusians, like most evil humans, are racist. So the Ayusians were anti-elf and anti-gnome. So just by being an elf or a gnome, you were already wanted points.
Yeah.
If you were an Asimar, Centaur, Pixie, or Unicorn, they really wanted to kill you. Right off the bat. But if we ended up with a PC who was a goblin, half-orc, hobgoblin, ogre, or tiefling, they could subtract points from their wanted score because the Ayusians would just assume that they were working for them. And they would pay them less attention. So that's how we kind of represented Ayusian evil racism with that mechanic. And then you said the access.
Right.
There were 5 levels: dissenter, malcontent, insurgent, seditionist, and enemy of the state.
Nice.
And each one has different cost, but gave benefits. And like Jay said, eyes in the back of your head. You get a +2 circumstance bonus to spot and listen checks made against minions of Ayus during Bandit Kingdoms regional events. That's basically every Bandit Kingdoms event.
Based on your wanted score. That's funny. Oh my gosh. Someone
and
put
there were
this
benefits
together.
to guide your body could get recovered by the resistance.
Oh man. That's crazy. That's interesting. You're enemy of the state. You're a legendary force of opposition to the Church of Ayus and the Bandit Kingdoms, and it costs you dearly. Triad approval.
Right. You had to show us what you had done, basically, to the Ayusian forces that was egregious enough for them to call you an enemy of the state.
Right. So there was a player-run organization in addition to the meta orgs. Okay. Yeah. All right. Cool.
Yeah. So, for instance, you now have a -40 penalty to charisma checks with Ayusians. Yeah. Well, Mike, keep in mind, DC 50 was possible by high levels in 3.0.
Yeah, I guess so.
Oh my god.
People wouldn't let you stay in their tavern or inns if you were recognized because the Ayusians would come along and call them collaborator.
Right.
All your meta orgs who could be their arms twisted by the Ayusians would kick you out. So if you were a member of the Red Hand, Zeech has to keep a low profile with the Ayusians. You become an enemy of the state. He has someone kick you out of Red Hand. Things like that.
Yeah. Wow.
So That was a really fun mechanic. And PCs players took a lot of pride in trying to get as wanted as possible. And sometimes we'd have events. We'd have an interactive where we'd be like, okay, who is an enemy of the state? You all come over here. You know, who's the next level? Insurgents over here. And we would drop using encounters on them because they'd been tried or located or someone had ratted them out, kind of thing. That wasn't every interactive. It wasn't every adventure, but it did pop up from time.
That's interesting and really cool. It almost is almost like the notoriety. It's not. It's much more detailed than the notoriety system in the City of Skulls, right? To find, but this is way more detailed.
Yeah, that sounds more fun.
Yeah,
it's personal.
It was neat.
Yeah,
it was a lot of fun. Like somewhere I've got my characters. Or, when did this campaign end? 2008. I became Triad like in 2005, but I still have a whole bunch of my characters' silly certs, and it was a paper trail. Here's my whip scars cert. It's a piece of paper, and it was signed November 10th of 2002, probably by my buddy Tom Brister or Patrick Brown. Maybe I think I got this in Austin, where those two guys lived at the time. Gained during the scenario Fortress, run by Keith McAlar. He forgot to sign the cert. See my adventure certificate. I actually have a note on the whip scars. So that's how you kind of kept track of things early on in the campaign.
Gary Julian says to Mike, time to do a pirate notoriety system for the Sea Princes and that whole area. That whole area. Yeah, I would be Troy. Maybe something to incorporate into what you're doing too.
Here are my wanted.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so I'll show you some hard copies from my PC before I became Triad member. So she joined the Fan Larentian Elves, and when I updated it to the modern adventure record system, I converted her. I couldn't play her in BK stuff, but she was still a member, and I needed to keep track of all this stuff. So that's the paper copy for the Fan Larentian Elves. I came up with that logo, that shield for them. I just
cool.
I grabbed a tree off the internet.
Which one is that? Which one's that?
And the Fan Larentian Elves. It's supposed to be an oak tree. I am not a painter. I am not.
How do you spell that? The FPH or
FAN?
Yeah, I don't see it on here. I don't see it in the group.
LAR.
I don't see it.
Hang on. If for the PDF, it is. It's under
Elf Arcane, Elf Friend.
Elf. Yeah, it's just under Elf because they're the only Elf clan in the region. Unlike, say, High Folk.
So it's Elf Friend.
Yeah. Well, this one is. It's probably Elf. I don't know. That's a good question. It's probably Elf Scout.
I'm gonna check Elf. Here it is. Elf Oaken has one here.
That would be for the druids, for wood elven druids, basically, or clerics of nature gods who wanted to gain access to druidy, elfy type stuff.
Okay, well, I like that. And let's go to Elf Scouts.
All
right. You automatically get a wanted point by just joining.
Right, yep. Because Iusians didn't like you. Mm-hmm. So, and then I have the wanted by the Church of Ius hard copy cert. This is for the center level, which I think that was the lowest level, and it puts all that information you just read from the Word document onto one piece of paper that you could carry with you. And here's your living accounting tracking system going on. And then I guess she gained more points and she got to the next level. Malcontent.
The management is just so Herculean that I think now I know why. And if it was like this in other regions, why a lot of triads burn out.
Well,
you got hundreds of people sending stuff in, right?
Well, we didn't really need them to send us this stuff. This was downloadable. You could qualify for it. It was supposed to be self-regulated on our system. If you met the requirements, and you were supposed to pay everything on the next adventure you played, and theoretically your dungeon master for that table would do a real quick audit, right? Like, okay, you're joining the elves. You pay 2-time units, you pay 100 gold or whatever it is. Check. You're now a member of the elves. That guy didn't have to know anything about the elves. All he had to do was compare a piece of paper to another piece of paper. And we called it living accounting, or Patrick called it living paperwork. But we had certs for. I just go to a bar a lot. This was Barfly. You go to one specific bar a lot, and that was a meta war.
TPS reports, yes.
Yeah. Wow. That was the Barfly. So pull that up.
TPS reports, that's awesome.
Barfly,
I think this is one of my inventions. So the Dirty Dog Tavern was an early tavern from Greyhawk or Bandit Kingdoms Adventures. That does predate me. But it kept getting used in adventures because, you kind of want to reuse things in your plots so that they stick with the players. Jay, you use the same bar in Altamira, right?
Well, that's kind of the salty dog. Yeah.
Right. So this actual bar, the Dirty Dog, there's a Dirty Dog in Austin, or there used to be in Austin, Texas.
Right. No
relation. It's just a coincidence.
I love how it says kobolds may join. That's funny.
Right, because most of the meta orgs didn't like kobolds. So it was important to note that this one was fine. Not a lot of people could play kobolds. It became an option somehow, some when. So anyway, right, look at what this gives. It gives access to alcohol-related products from Arms and Equipment Guide. You could say my dwarf has dwarven ale, but technically he doesn't. Right. Unless you have certed access like this. And here you see you can gain access to Dwarf Head Stout.
Wait.
If there's an adventure where you're meeting a bunch of dwarves and you bust out some Dwarf Head Stout ale, those dwarves should give you a bonus to your diplomacy check, right? As a dungeon master, whoa!
I have to ask, Casey, may I hire Gummy the Bouncer at half cost?
Yes. Gummy was a toothless, half-orc monk, drunken master NPC I created to be the bouncer for this tavern. And he could be hired to go on adventures with you because my pride and joy, my baby, was coming up with a mercenary system where tables of 4 players. Living Greyhawk allowed you to have up to 6 people at a table. If you had 4, we allowed you to hire an NPC if you had some sort of access like this sheet gives you. And it had to be level appropriate. So you couldn't take a 7th level Gummy the Bouncer on a 1st level adventure.
Right.
But if you were going on a 6th or 8th level adventure, you could take Gummy. And Jay, I may not have sent you Gummy.
It's okay.
No, Gummy's awesome. So I'm going to send you in Discord while we talk real quick.
Yeah.
Gummy.
All right.
So you can see an example of this.
Oh, my gosh. I got some names, but I don't have anyone named Gummy. I have Poo-Poo and Caca, but no Gummy.
Oh, well, that's because you didn't have any teeth.
Well, I think it's hysterical.
All right. I just sent you the BK Mercs book, and if you can futz with it, that's cool. But you could hire Gummy, and there were other benefits. You could sleep on the floor. You gain bonuses when adventuring in Rook Roost for charisma-based stuff. You're a regular at Cheers. That's what this certificate meant. You're a regular at Cheers. It just happens to be a bar in Rook Roost. Everybody knew your name.
Everyone knows your name, like Norm.
Let's see if he can pull up Gummy real quick.
I got to download it and now open it. All right, so far so good.
This really is my baby. I am so proud of this. With help from Britt and Theo.
So this is
and other people.
These are all NPCs that you can use on these adventures.
Yes, you could hire them during Bandit Kingdom, during adventures set in the Bandit Kingdom.
Wow,
so theoretically, meta regional adventures that were set in the Bandit Kingdoms, you could hire them. Now, players from other regions would be completely unfamiliar with this document. But let's say you had 4 people from High Folk show up in Dallas one weekend and want to play some D&D. The Bandit Kingdoms local who was running the adventures for them should tell them, hey, there might be a way for you guys to hire a mercenary if your PC can join this Elven meta org or something. Let's see if we can make that happen. Then they get a 5th guy to help them out with the adventures, because adventures were not toned down if you only had 4. They were boosted up if you had 6. They were designed around a party of 5.
Oh, so
if you had
they're
4,
scalable characters. Is that what I'm reading into this? That they're scalable characters depending on the adventure? And
not
generic...
quite.
Well, look, like
each NPC had a specific level, but some orgs had multiple PCs depending on the size of the org.
Okay.
So if you go to page 11, you'll see Dirty Dog Tavern NPC. Scroll down to 11.
Gummy the Bouncer.
Gummy the Bouncer. As you can see, he was a half-orc, monk 6, drunken master 2. He worshipped the orc god Nazarn, who's an orc combat god, but without being a crazy grumsh type. A full stat block in a 3.0, 3.5 format. This was before 3.5 and Pathfinder had modernized the stat block.
Okay.
So still a little clunky here with the stat. But what you can see is, dude's got 59 hit points at 8th level. That's not bad for a monk. Armor class 17, speed of 50 feet. You cannot outrun Gummy the Bouncer. Because he's a monk. And he could make 2 unarmed strike attacks at +8 to hit. So these guys were built well. PCs should have been more powerful, but these guys had a special focus. And you'll notice Gummy could drink and gain special abilities from the Drunken Master Prestige class. He had his own wanted score, so that if you had to take him on an adventure against Iusians, the Dungeon Master would know, like, do the Iusians care about this guy or not?
Right.
And all of this on one page, and I had a lot of help creating these, but I think I told all my helpers, hey, I need a 8th level this. I need a 6th level this.
Right. Wow.
And then they gave me the framework, and then I went in and dialed it in, like, for the feats and skills. And I'm kind of don't trust anyone else when it comes to stat blocks kind of guy.
Sounds familiar. I mean, same here. I mean, for whatever edition you're playing, yeah.
And he comes with gear, and there were rules like if Gummy dies, you don't get to keep his gauntlets of ogre power. That wasn't treasure. You couldn't hire Gummy just to kill him to get his stuff.
Oh, that would be really devious.
Yeah. So there were quite a few of them in here, and we have 6 level 2s, looks like 7 level 4s, 8 level 6s, and 2 level 8s. Above that, PC should have the leadership feat, and they would be able to bring along their own dude with them.
We got a Priest of Foltus in here.
Yeah, they would be under Dimray.
Yeah, Grand Theocracy Dimray NPC.
Hey,
I'm going to be blunt. I think it's a genius idea. That way, you don't have to have as many PCs at the table. I think the game would go actually faster. In some instances, we're only 4 players instead of 6, and someone's running the. Does the DM run this character, or one of the signed 4 people run this character?
The players could decide. The point was not for the DM to run it. Right. So that you didn't give the DM more work. I think in the front matter of the book, it says one of the players has to agree to be responsible for running.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
All the shows we had, Casey, we never discussed this. It's good.
I keep forgetting to bring these up on our previous shows because we've either had other guests and we're talking about the town building project or whatever. For my Bandit Kingdoms tournament, if you'll recall that the House of Horrors I ran for people a couple years ago at virtual Greyhawk Con, and then on your own channel when I streamed it.
Yeah.
The 5 pre-gens from that come from these NPCs. Nice. Mike, who did you play in that?
Tosk is on here. I remember someone at Tosk. Yeah.
Do not remember.
I remember specifically Tosk.
I don't think it was that Tosk, though.
Were you the halfling or the female cleric? The Renee?
I usually play rogues.
Or the necromancer.
I don't know.
I can look it up.
Rogues.
Yeah, well, that's really cool. And it's a good thing that if you're running So I'm not saying bombard Casey, but if you're running Bandit Kingdoms adventures and stuff, having these NPCs,
I just need some 3.5 NPCs.
Yeah, and
I can share this document with you. This is not going to be copyright.
Or you can pass it along and convert it to 5th. I mean, it's not that hard to convert it back to 1st and 2nd or 5th or Pathfinder. It doesn't matter.
That's a good point.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's fantastic. I did not know about that. None of us. Anna, did you know about this?
Nope.
That's pretty fantastic, dude.
I don't think I missed that.
Mike Bridges played Garavina the Pure, which is a gender swapped of Garavald the Pure.
I've heard that mentioned. Yeah. I think you mentioned it on. Yeah, you mentioned it before. I think in some of our shows.
Where is Dimray?
Yeah, M5. My guess is Tosk was from Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, that's right.
Tosk was from Felrings?
Yeah, but there's a character named Tosk in Deep Space
no, that was just I just named him like Tusk and I changed it to Tosk.
Yeah, because I had this hidden goal where you had to suffer before I would give you healing or something like that.
Because
you had to go through the light,
Pure
the darkness
was a Dimrite Fulton. Exactly. She would not heal people till they've been knocked unconscious. But Mike couldn't tell the rest of the party that. So in the middle of a combat, other players are saying like, "No, Cleric, give me some healing." Because the tournament was scored. If people who've played in that tournament will remember, I scored you on whether or not you did the thing you weren't supposed to do.
Here's a meta org for the Stoink Thieves Guild. I'm looking for Rookroost stuff, and I don't see any in here.
It's in there. It's called the RTG. Rookroost Thieves Guild.
RTG. Oh, there it is. All right, I see 2 of them.
Yeah.
All right, here, let me go to that instead, since we got a lot of people who use
Instead of typing that out, we just called it the RTG.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, here we go. Rookroost Thieves Guild. Cool. That's one of the first ones. That makes sense.
Yeah, that was a year 1 or 2 early creation. They knew from right off the bat they wanted Rookroost to have a very strong, organized Thieves Guild. I can't remember if it's referenced in canon in one of the Dragon magazine articles or a folio or box set or anything like that. But I believe the early Triads really wanted it to rival the Divers and Greyhawk Thieves Guild.
Wow.
As much as possible.
Then it says kobolds may join here too. It's funny.
Hey, kobolds. I was a big fan of kobolds because you could have these little sneaky guys and you could give them class levels and they'd be really awesome when you did that. But they sucked without the class levels.
Like, would you play kobold?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so you're looking at Rookroost Thieves Guild.
Yeah.
All right. Wow, this one has a lot of small text on it.
Yeah, it does, man. It does.
So it had 3 different levels that you would progress through with different costs and benefits.
Right.
But the neat thing about this is you could gain, from a meta perspective, you could gain the feat Foe Specialist. That was from Miniatures Handbook. That came out in the middle of the campaign. And we just thought, okay, Foe Specialist allowed you to like do some rangery type stuff. Like you could pick Iusians or Orcs, if I remember correctly, and you could be better against them. It just made sense for whatever reason for the thieves to get better against humans or something.
Well, yeah,
I mean, Miniatures Handbook to revisit it.
Yeah, there's a lot of reinventing of old school classes, like because we, I have bandits, and bandits kind of have some of that ability, but that just adds stuff in a different format. That's all, which is cool.
Right, and something that 3.5 did that Bullman straight plundered for Pathfinder 1E, and he admitted this. This is not a secret or anything. Racial substitution level. I thought they were a very neat idea in 3rd edition, and that an elven fighter should look mechanically different from a human fighter, should look mechanically different from a dwarven fighter. And so the Rookroost Thieves Guild halflings could gain access to the halfling rogue racial substitution levels from the book RW. What was that? Races of the Wild? Probably the Splat book.
Yeah.
The 3.5 Splat book.
3.5 Splat book.
Yeah, they have. Yeah, elves were in the Races of the Wild, and Cochra, I think it was in that one.
Right. And those substitution levels were really neat. And they, in Pathfinder 1E, they become your archetypes. They become the paths you can take in classes that differentiate yourself from others of your class. And then we see that, I'm skipping 4E, see that in 5E as well with the, what do they call it in 5E? When you can either be a battle master or this or that, an assassin or a thief. Someone in the audience will tell me what it means. But so that's where the earliest concept of the archetype and what 5E has for being a different type subclass. Thank you. I think might be the term in
substitution level. It sure says. I love my Grey Elven spell generalist.
3.5 and Pathfinder 1E have a ton of bloat in them, and Dungeon Masters. You know, you pull up to a table and you've got a halfling with halfling substitution levels. Your dungeon master might be like, I've never even heard of that. I've never read that book. I've never seen that book. So that player had to have a copy of the book, Races of the Wild, with him. And he had to have the certificate that granted him access to that with him. And he would have to show the dungeon master the book and be like, look, I can backstab undead, which was a 3.5. You know, you couldn't backstab undead in 3.5. So... anyway, so that's the Rook Roost.
I still run that rule that most undeads can't be backstabbed because they don't have vital
things. Yeah, I don't like 5e.
I do the same thing.
Because my wife plays a rogue and she just absolutely murders things with low armor class, including undead.
Yeah, so I don't. Undeads can't be attacked with sneak attack.
You know what it is for me? I hate the missile sneak attack. It drives me crazy. But I don't
but if you think about real world warfare, missile sneak attack was the deadliest thing until
I can definitely
until firearms.
Oh yeah, I can definitely see that if you skilled and specialized with a bow that you can use from a distance. Right. Yes, that I will allow.
Bandits always attack from tree line cover, right? Yeah. You open up with.
That's
if you
not
could
a
have
backstab attack. That's we don't need to go into semantics.
No, I don't even call it a backstab. So yes, I didn't even call it a backstab.
Yeah. There's a difference between an archer doing it who's specialized and a thief running around with a bow.
That's the thing. They need to be really good with a bow too. Yeah, not like your regular run of the mill. It's that's my way of looking at how my rules mechanics works. You need to be really good with a bow, and then you need to be able to do that kind of cut the throat off, so to speak.
Most bandits who have a bow would be an ex-soldier who ran off with the bow, left the army, went AWOL. So I don't have any problem with that. But that's a whole different discussion.
It depends on how you look at the rules and how what type of campaign you want to play.
Absolutely. 100%. Okay, so Anna, Mike, questions for Casey. I got a ton of meta orgs here. Any
general question, like what was the most popular meta org?
Ooh, I think probably the Rook Roost Thieves Guild early on. It was one of the first ones. It's in the big classic city. A lot of people were playing rogues in the Bandit Kingdoms because the adventures heavily favored stealthy, sneaky. Now the combats didn't, because fighting undead as a rogue, you basically were useless in 3.5. But a lot of the adventures, you needed to be able to do deception and other charisma type checks. So the Rook Roost Thieves Guild was pretty popular. Trying to think what else would have been popular early on. And Patrick can jump in and tell us here in the chat if he has other thoughts on the ones that were popular. I thought the elves were popular, but that's just because I was heavily involved. That was the first meta org I became involved with. I don't really know how many people played elves in the Bandit Kingdoms and what percentage of those elven PCs ended up in the meta org. Unfortunately, we just don't have statistics like that from back then. The Druids might have been a little popular, the Felreave Druids, but
well, Felreave overall sounds like it was very popular. A lot of events.
Well, it had different things in it, and we had Dazark Orcs. The Dazark Orcs are canon orcs who are fighting against the Iusians. They want to be left alone in the Felreave. More than worship Luthik than Grumsh in canon. Luthik is the orc goddess of like childbirth and healing. So
where are they mentioned canon wise? I'm just curious.
I use the evil.
Okay, so they're okay. So they're in there with also the Torch of Grooms, which is the same way, and the Vespi. They're indigenous orcs that hate Ayus and hate Orogs especially. So that's interesting. Very cool.
Yeah. Tell the history professor I'm out in Worcester. I used to live in Boston. Must sees, he should go see the Constitution and the Freedom Trail and South End for Italian food and things like that. So he can always PM me on the Discords. And also I see people asking about the things I can share, something incarnate. I know I can share the things I created, like the Mercenaries. I'm pretty sure I could share the Bandit Kingdoms Meta Org guidebook because we shared that freely downloadable for 8 years. It just got updated.
Right.
And if anything, it plagiarizes in small ways canon, right? Because we were saying, things from I Use the Evil, we would reword and put in here. Otherwise, it wouldn't make sense. Like, why do the Desark orcs hate Iusians? Well, this is why. So I'm pretty sure I can share those. They're not going to be copyrighted or anything like that. It's the adventures. I can't stress enough. We can't legally share the adventures because they are copyrighted either by Wizards of the Coast or by the author.
Right. Depending on if they're paid or not.
Right. Exactly.
Fun times. But North and South End for Weird or Evil. The Defenders of Morannon had 25 of the most powerful PCs in the region.
Thanks, Gary, for correcting me. I haven't
Defenders of Morannon. Let me see if I have that one.
Is hopefully you've got it. Patrick Brown, who's in the audience, was playing his Cleric Aralashas, and he won a joust in year 1
that's Green
to become Prince Zeech's vassal.
I closed all that.
And you can see Morannon on the map. Anna's got it on the map. Go down into Red Hand and go northwest of Alhaster. I think it is.
It's down here, right?
Yeah, zoom in on Alhaster and look around that region. Look for Morannon Keep. Northeast of Alhaster.
And now on the latest edition of the map, there's even heraldry that was done in Living Greyhawk, and I put it on
Patrick.
the map. So
Patrick created his heraldry for Morannon Keep.
Yep. So thank you guys for letting me use that heraldry and putting it on the map. So it's really cool.
There were rumors of cheating. Ulik, I think the unlooked for, had a Wand of True Strike hidden up one sleeve before Wands of True Strike became illegal when 3.0 went to 3.5, right?
You can have True Strike spells in wands. Damn.
Right, because something changed about it being a target self spell or something. I forget what it was, or it was potions, or anyway. Patrick can correct me in the chat, but anyway, he won the joust while using a True Strike magical ability, and he was telling the Triad what he was doing, and they had to agree that it was allowed, if not technically legal. And other players got super pissed off, and it's Bandit Kingdoms. Like, the might makes right. If you win, you win. So he won. This isn't his original search, but this is for his buddy. Patrick could enlist other friends to join Morannon Keep as the Defenders of Morannon Keep, and they would be his friends, and they would get benefits. He often adventured with the same people. Patrick's like, it was totally illegal. For many years, I don't think Patrick would admit that he had a Wand of True Strike up the character's sleeve. I forget. Or maybe he did. Patrick did have a penchant for taunting everyone who had lost. It was a lot of fun. But I wasn't there. I didn't actually it was just before my time. But I heard so many tales about it that it's kind of a living legend in Bandit Kingdoms.
If I die out of the room, it's because I'm about to have an allergy attack. So just note that.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I'll be back. Keep talking.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Go sneeze. So there were things. This was part of a living campaign. Patrick became this NPC, or not an NPC, but an important player character because he had this title. And there would be some adventures where Patrick could avoid the railroad. Some adventures are railroady. You only have 4 hours. You have 3 encounters. Living Greyhawk would have railroady adventures. And Patrick sometimes breaks the adventure because he could walk up to like the Iusian and be like, well, I'm one of your vassals, so you don't need to kill us. And the Iusian would be like, oh, right, you work for Zeech. Zeech works for us. Mm-hmm. Go ahead. And then Patrick and his crew could finish the mission, and as long as the Iusians didn't figure out that Patrick's character had screwed them over, he was fine. Mm-hmm. So he would broker peace treaties between powerful NPCs because they would recognize him as a representative of Priest Zeech.
Yeah.
Zeech. So he could broker at Interactives. I think it was Guardian General Hawk. He brokered some sort of peace treaty with Hawk between Hawk and Zeech. And obviously, Halorn, the Warfields, is not close to Red Hand, but you need to smuggle weapons if you're going to fight IUs. So there were those kinds of backroom deals that needed to be. So yeah, it was a lot of fun, and Patrick's a big personality, and he put on the costume, and everyone would have a good time.
I think I would have liked the Bandit Kingdoms. It's just I like that kind of roguish fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
it was a lot of fun unless you wanted to play a lawful stupid paladin. If that was your shtick, you needed to go to the Shieldlands or Furiandi or some other region.
Yeah.
And we also, our players took pride in the fact that they were Bandit Kingdoms, obnoxious, chaotic neutral typically, and they would go to other regions and they would be obnoxious, chaotic neutral, and that sometimes got us in trouble in character and kind of in real life too. We just kind of got a reputation for like, oh, you think your big bad guy is so tough? I just had dinner. I just had a dinner date with a red dragon.
And you also pushed the game system to its limit too, in because you were really you pushed the envelope and used every loophole and everything you can get around, and so that's a lot of interesting. That's a different play style than I think. Oh, that's one question I forgot to ask. Were play styles different in different triads and in different? I assume that from when we listened to the various ones that there were kind of play cultures in different regions had different different way of tackling things. So
we've heard stories from Eric Menge and that crew, Jose Ortiz, about the bravery of the Joff, because they were fighting the giants. They're trying to rescue their people and save their land and all that. And in the Bandit Kingdoms, we had a saying like, "I don't have to outrun the monster; I just have to outrun you."
Yep.
And sometimes you had to run away. Now, Living Greyhawk didn't do a good enough job of untiering encounters in later years, but in early years, I think it was rather easy to run into a fight you weren't supposed to fight.
Yeah.
Later, no, I'm just saying in later years, I feel like that kind of went away. And people often thought, ooh, fight, roll initiative. No, sometimes you should have to run away in Dungeons and Dragons. I don't care if it's first edition or fifth edition.
It should definitely be that way. Yeah, and sometimes the monsters should do that too, because they should realize that we don't want to. So yeah,
there should be a lot more like, whoa, you just killed my buddy. We surrender.
Yeah, exactly. We surrender, or they run away, or they just panic and start shooting left and right or whatever. So yeah, I always try to depict that kind of style. And it was interesting when you say run away. That I get the depiction, and in Joff they all assembled and ran together as neutral good ones, so to speak, and you as chaotic neutral. Well, if I run this way and the other one, if you run separate ways, there's only one chance in 6 or something that the monster will follow me, so to speak, or something. Yeah.
And Furiandi adventures might be geared towards open plains battles where you have cavaliers with lances who are able to charge the monster or the Iusians or whatever. If they visited the Bandit Kingdoms, you might be in the Fellreaver Tangled Forest.
Yep.
You can bring your horse, but you're not charging. You're not using a lance. You might be used to fighting demons of one sort, but in the Bandit Kingdoms, we kind of specialized in demons. And we we just knew all the tricks of the trade. So even though we had to have fair and balanced encounters, you could advance a demon, you could give it class levels, you could give it henchmen without really impacting its encounter level, its challenge rating, just to make them tougher. But that was part of the arms race. And some players didn't appreciate that. They wanted to play an average PC with a bunch of other average PCs, and they wanted to have average fights, because if you threw tough fights at average PCs, they would get their butts kicked, maybe even a TPK. But if you threw easier average fights at twinked out PCs, they would get bored. They would say the modules aren't hard enough. So it was very difficult. And there were sometimes you'd write an adventure and you might just say, hey guys, this one's going to be very, very tough. You know what? I'd like to think we encouraged a no whining attitude in the Bandit Kingdoms. But we did have some whiners in the region who would let us know.
Sorry. I get the saying that like in space, no one can hear you scream, and in the Bandit Kingdoms, no one can hear you whine.
Yeah.
No one cares. Yep.
Yeah, and I think Groovy said, the regional system of Living Greyhawk sometimes meant you couldn't play the D&D character that you wanted to. He said it sucked if you lived in the wrong place, right?
Yeah.
And that's true. Yeah. That's just the way the regional system was, High Folk was great for elves. They were a little bit of an afterthought in plenty of other regions.
Yeah.
So.
But but there are a lot of positives too. So there have to be drawbacks as well. So yeah.
So what other, just name a part of the Bandit Kingdoms, and we can pick an organization from there to talk about.
What is it? This one says I use druids. What is this?
I use druids.
Oh, that's
a meta regional certificate.
Old
I was
Faith.
trying to get all the druids of the Old Faith across all of the regions to use the same meta rules.
Oh, okay.
Because it's a Flaness-wide religion, right?
Right.
So the problem we ran into with Living Greyhawk being decentralized was that the Bandit Kingdoms would have its Old Faith, and Joff would have its version of its Old Faith, and every other region could have their own Old Faith if they had a Flan tradition in the region.
Yeah.
So I came up with the idea. I think I'm taking credit for it because it's been 15 years, and if anyone disagrees with me, they can come on the show. And,
good idea. That's the way we drag them in.
Member or circle member.
Yep.
They can call me out, but I think I came up with the idea of a meta org that was meta regional. So anyone in the meta region, Parentland, High Folk, Furiundi, Shieldlands, or Bandit Kingdoms, who was a druid who met these requirements, could join the Old Faith, the actual canonical Old Faith, and it gave these benefits like Jay is showing you on the screen.
Wouldn't they have wanted by IUs or no?
So I think on there it does maybe mention the wanted by IUs. If not, it's on the wanted by IUs document.
Okay.
Lay of the land bonuses.
That's no big deal. I just was like,
no, it's a good question. Yeah. This may have been that because the other regions weren't using the wanted by IUs mechanic.
Yeah.
I didn't bother putting it here. I put it on the wanted by IUs little booklet I created.
Interesting.
That's probably where that is. Now, this doesn't go into the role playing of the Old Faith. In Greyhawk, Living Greyhawk, we got that from Stephen Conforti's Deities book, which I'm desperately trying to get him onto the show to talk about how he put that together.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
With people like Greg Marks
you said there was
and others.
Last time, but
yeah. I keep reaching out to him every few weeks, like, when's your next Wednesday free? When's your next Wednesday free? So hopefully I'll get him one of these days. But this, for Old Faith, this would at least allow you to have a meta org that your character could join.
Right.
That was recognized in all 5 of the regions of the meta. Cool. You can see this one is labeled year 6. 596 CY was the 6th year of the campaign. That's probably when I created it. That's when I kind of hit my stride as a Triad member, and I was driving Chris Tulloch nuts.
No.
Yeah. We're trying to get Chris Tulloch to come on the show, but he told Greg Marks, like, why is anyone interested in Living Greyhawk? It's been, 15 years. And I told Greg Marks to just tell him, like, just come on the show. Give me 2 hours of your life and you'll have a blast. Yep. So I'm working on that. But Greg thinks official WotC people are under orders not to go do non-partnered shows.
Yeah.
On Twitch or whatever.
That might have changed. They're in the outreach mode now, so that might change. You never know.
What's his name was on 30 different shows.
Yeah, but that's one guy trying to do damage control.
Oh yeah, but
whatever.
Maybe it will change. We'll see. Yeah.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I think we should trick that guy into coming on here, and we should just grill him about Greyhawk. Everyone else has asked him about the debacle. Yeah. You could just say so Greyhawk, and then watch him.
We will get the standard reply. I'm pretty sure that there are parts of it that doesn't really live up to our current standards, or something like that. Yeah.
We need to get a serious WotC person drunk and just ask them with a hidden tape recorder
and then you
what is going on with Greyhawk.
That's not fair.
Oh, not air it, but just say confidential sources have told
Mike
us.
Merles is going to be a Gary Con. Show up and get him drunk.
Get him drunk and politely corner him.
Red planks.
And you know what? When you meet him, tell him we've been doing this because Mike Merles is former Keeland Triad member.
He knows.
No, but you've got to pound them in the face.
No, they're not allowed to come on these shows.
I know. Dark Elf Twilight asks an interesting question. Can neutral evil druids be followers of IUs? The answer is, I think, yes, because IUs is chaotic evil, and in 3rd edition, you could worship a god if you were within 1 step of its alignment. Neutral evil or chaotic neutral would work for IUs, but druids really wouldn't have, even evil druids, I don't know why they would worship IUs versus someone like Incabulus or someone a little bit more nature oriented. So I don't think we ever statted up a bad Iusian druid.
What if that druid wanted to be in charge of the Vesvi Force, but he got beat? You see, so he doesn't get promoted. So his only way of getting the force is siding with evil.
That's a good point. But this is just my thought, and this is from my campaign. So take it for what it's worth. Those evil druids in my campaign, especially in the Vesvi, they are more interested in like Cernus or the Master of the Hunt or really big baddie nature baddies. Sure. I use as a putz compared to them, right? So yeah.
Sure. I don't know if our friend Canadian Ancient Gamer's in the audience.
No, I haven't seen him on tonight.
Stella says hi. He'll be sad he missed Stella.
Yeah,
Stella the cat,
she's so cute.
Stella the gamer.
I don't see him.
She's so cute. Yep.
Being a good girl right now.
Named your cat after a streamer. I can't believe it.
No, don't start that rumor. That'll get everyone creeped out. But anyway, so where was I? Or where do we want to go next? You've got the red planks, Bargeman. Yeah. That would give you access to the Darka Guard prestige class.
What is that?
That's a fighter rogue built for fighting on boats. Prestige class from a. Where's the reference? Go look for the
Greyhawk
class.
Journal.
Was it?
Yeah, they used harpoons, right?
Well, that's what the Dark is. It's a 2-pronged harpoon.
That's cool.
So for fishing large river monsters. I used to watch the heck out of that.
That's a great concept. Bargeman. I mean, I like it. You guys get some detail here that has me thinking a little bit.
We didn't do a lot.
The Darka.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dave.
I want to read this real quick. The Darka is considered a 2-handed exotic melee weapon for the following statistics. A Dark Guy takes great pride in his weapon, which has been individually crafted to his personal specifications. So most of them are non-magical, obviously. Some affix iron rings to the butts of their weapons in order to use the Darkas as harpoons, with ropes attached to draw the Darkas once it has been thrown. So that's neat. I mean,
and that's straight from the Living Greyhawk Journal entry on that weapon.
And Coatoans, too, back in old school, would have harpoons with ropes.
Ah, okay. Yep. Right, so we didn't have a lot of, say, water-based adventures because we only had one area next to the new div.
No, I like it.
we should have done more on the Artansame. I just don't think we really came up with ideas for riverboat adventures. But these guys would be designed to fight well on a moving boat, mechanically. You know, the things they could get access to for their gear and equipment. So thematically, they should be, you know, repelling borders or being borders.
Citizen of Gloucester.
Gloucester is a city at the edge of the Bluff Hills, east of the Fell Reef.
Yep. And this is the one where they were feeding into Fort Skagund.
Skagund, and in canon, they are tasked with enforcing Ayuza's will on the rovers of the Baron to the north. And that's Lady Zavendra, Xavendra, who was known as the Pale Lady. She was tall, beautiful, and very white-skinned, like a European noble, right, who would never go outside. And so everyone, and this is all canon, that she's, you know, she's in I Use the Evil as a 10th level cleric. Well, once Living Greyhawk started making references to her as the Pale Lady, everyone was like, oh, vampire alert, vampire alert, vampire alert.
Yep.
She was not a vampire for a few more years, but she did become
Oh, okay. So
she wasn't at that time.
So her and Thrommel have a lot in common.
So Gloucester, you could be a citizen of Gloucester, and that was more of a pro-IU's area. So if you were a chaotic neutral PC who wasn't scared of undead, you might desire to live in Gloucester.
Sounds like the perfect neighborhood.
I like this. So you had
Gentrified
Drow.
and ready.
You had Drow in your campaign because it says may not be a full-blooded elf unless a Drow.
Yep.
Yeah, that was just in case anyone got that access, because Drow were not a legal race.
How'd you get that access?
Thank God. I think there may have been a special event at, say, Gen Con that allowed someone to play a Drow. And so I think I was just hedging my bet here, saying,
okay,
if anyone somehow got to be a Drow, they could join this. Because I saw someone mention Drow earlier in the chat as well.
This is the most bizarre perk I've ever seen in my life.
Which one?
10% discount on the price of mirrors.
Because of vampires.
Okay.
The town was overrun with vampires. So if you live there, you got a 10% discount on the price of mirrors. I'm going to take credit for that again, unless any of my BK cohorts come out of the woodwork. That's where my brain went. 20 years. I had so much free time back then.
I can see that.
Amazing. It was crazy. And I was finding, look at these items. 20-foot square tent from Races of the Wild. I had to put that on a piece of paper for people to be able to buy it.
Oh my God.
Bone armor. That's pretty cool. You see that in the genre video.
That is really cool.
Exactly.
Yep.
Game of Thrones, cool. The dude's wearing bone armor. I gave access to bone armor.
Like the Kurgan.
Right, exactly. Like when he shows up on the fields of battle. So Gloucester later gets overrun by humanoids, but that's its own. You can read about it in my book, A95 on Amazon.
So I think meta orgs, it depends on the region, the max you could do. Like I know one region says you can only join 2. How many could you join here in the Bandit Kingdoms?
You could join as many as it made sense to join, because some orgs didn't like other orgs, and I think that would be more detailed in our meta org booklet. And also they cost time, money, play opportunities.
Time units too, right? So you'd be adventuring less.
Right. So I think we made it so that you could only be a citizen of one place, because we had citizen of Rookru, citizen of Stoink, citizen of Dimray. So you could only be a citizen of one place unless you had the Spy Master prestige class, because then you had alternate identities, and those alternate identities could each be a citizen from somewhere else as part of your cover stories for your Spy Master identities. I mean, we were thinking 3D chess with some of these rules. It was crazy.
Here's one for dwarves, which is a rare one here.
Oh, Morg Doom.
Yep. Tell us.
This is a player-created event, basically, led to the creation of this meta org. Truly a living campaign.
Okay.
Go ahead and I'm sorry, Jay. Go ahead and read it. I didn't mean to cut
During
you
the
off.
Boneheart Kranzer's attack on the Tangles Forest, the Dwarven warrior Ulfar died alone. However, he left behind a legacy of bravery and camaraderie unparalleled, and the combination of free lords. Shortly after, Dwarven adventures created an exceptional white marble statue to stand guard over the site of the hero's death. After the consecration ceremony, a crevice opened in the ground nearby, revealing tunnels that led to a long-forgotten Duergar city. After gathering their fellows to help clean the city out during the Dwarven Holy Week of Harnikia 596, the dwarves in the combination finally had a place to call home, Morakdum Dal Alfarindar. Oh, that's interesting.
Harnikia is a canon Greyhawk holiday. It's on the old Greyhawk calendars of holidays for a dwarven ritual of cleaning house. They would go out into their tunnels and they would clean monsters for a week. They would not clean monsters, that'd be fun. They'd kill monsters for a week to make the dwarven settlements safe for another year. Right. So Harnikia. This guy, Ulfar, during an interactive, he was an 8th level dwarf. He went to go run and help a 10th level table who were getting their asses kicked by demons during the interactive. Remember, during interactives, multiple tables all playing at the same time. You could leave your table and go to a different table. You could go from fight A to fight B. It might be tougher, might be easier. Who knows? He goes over to the APL 10 table. They were all running away from their demon fight. So this 8th level dwarf is now surrounded by demons. We asked him, what do you want to do? Do you want to flee or do you want to fight? And he said, I fight. And everyone just looked at him and was like, oh my God, that's so brave. And we basically I think we hand waved most of the fight because we were like, he's fighting so many things that we just kind of grabbed dice and we were like, yeah, all right, so tell us how you want to go down. He's like, I go down swinging, that kind of thing. So then we did a special mission. Players wanted to raise money for this statue. That was all. I had to figure out how much would this statue cost. I had to look in 3.5 books and figure this out, that it would cost 15,000 gold pieces to have this statue crafted. And I forget how I made that determination, but I did. I sat there and did math. So they had a special mission. 6 players went on a once only adventure that I hand wrote for them to where they were going to put the statue in Ulfar's memory. And when they did, it opened up a chasm into the under earth. What do we call it?
Dark, but
not right. It's the under earth.
Okay.
And that led to Duergar attacking them, and then that led to a whole series of plots about there were mind flayers and an elder brain controlling Duergar, who had taken over an ancient lost dwarven city. The PCs have a couple of adventures where they drive off the Duergar. A year later, I have another adventure where they attack the mind flayers. And then that leads to the creation of the town Morakdum. The poem there, the player of Ulfar or someone put that poem on the statue. And I thought, wow, that's really beautiful, man. That's a really good job of poetry. Turns out that's a line from a Foo Fighters song.
That's all right.
They didn't tell me that, so I published it, and it's in my book. Anyway.
Yeah, Mac.
Oh, thanks, Big Mac.
Yeah,
well, I'm really proud of the Morakdum because that was all player agency.
That sounds awesome. It was created.
Yeah, and you can see the things it allowed. May take levels in the prestige class, tactical soldier from the miniatures handbook.
Oh man.
Et cetera, et cetera. So,
they probably hated you because they're like, I'm spending so much money on damn splat books, dude.
Well, that's what the campaign was designed to do for Wizards of the Coast, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Get people to buy the core books and then get people to buy splat books. Look at this. Down in the middle of the bullet points, may purchase a Deep Hound, Races of Stone, page 185, which is trained for combat riding for 4,250 gold pieces. You must spend 6 time units working with the trainer in the Deep Hound so that it knows you're its new handler. Upkeep 1 gold piece per TU. So, for feeding it and stuff during adventures. If you had 4,250 gold pieces and you're a dwarf, hell yeah, you're going to get a Deep Hound. That'd be the coolest thing people at that table had seen. Everyone would be like, where'd you get that Deep Hound? That's like a dog the size of a horse, if I remember correctly.
So, wow. And we all know early on there wasn't a lot of golden adventures. So these guys in the Bandit Kings were taking doors, hinges, flour, chickens, whatever
In
they
early
could.
years, absolutely. Early years, they were known for there was not a lot of treasure in the campaign in general, and in Bandit Kingdoms especially. You could buy a crowbar. It's in the player's handbook. It gives you a +2 circumstance bonus to various checks. And you would use it to take the doors. Anything that had a price in the player's handbook, you could resell at the end of the adventure. Chickens have a price in the player's handbook. You go to a farm during an adventure, you grab those 10 chickens and you sell those MFers. Doors.
Or you
had
could just
a cost,
chase them around,
I think, in the Dutch Master's Guide.
Like Rocky did.
Yep.
Chase that chicken around.
Right, chase that chicken around. But if you had a monk with a 50-foot speed, you're going to catch that chicken. Hey, true story. When I was in the Army, we had a guy that used to train by chasing squirrels.
Yeah,
he was a boxer, and he would train by trying to chase squirrels and trap them, not with his hands, but like up against a building to where they could no longer go left or right without him possibly being able to grab them. Mm-hmm. I know that's not super cool for the squirrels, but that's what this guy did for his training to get fast.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So chasing a chicken? Yeah, sure. Why not? A chicken, look it up. Someone look up in 3.x. A chicken was probably 1 copper piece.
Yeah, I don't think chickens are that super fast either. So at least they're not in real life.
Dude.
So
can you imagine an adventure group coming and they've got doors on their backs like they're in the movie Blood of Heroes and walking around with chairs and bedposts and all sorts of other crazy stuff.
You'd buy a wagon just to carry all that, and then you would look like a traveling
You look like the Beverly Hillbillies. Oh, my God.
Yep.
Oh, my God.
Now we know how the employee were invented.
Jeez.
Yeah. No, Big Mac. I'm positive chickens are listed with trade goods in the 3.0, 3.5 players handbook section.
There were lots of
stuff listed. Metal bars, flour, chickens, other things like that. Absolutely positive.
It just. Gary, just don't joke.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But you can use a chicken as an improvised weapon in 3.x. We had someone try and joust with a chicken one time.
That's awesome. Alcohol.
Because they didn't have a lance.
Convention. All right. So I know we've told this before. How'd the campaign end?
How did it end for the Bandit Kingdoms?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you have to kind of go to the map to help me jog my memory. But by year 8, most of the Bandit Kingdoms had managed to kick out the Iusians.
Oh, good.
But we were having Kranzer in Riffkrag become a very major antagonist, and he had partnered up with Morgenstaller the Red Dragon. In 3.x terms, Morgenstaller was like a CR21 or CR23 by this point. Kranzer's probably 18th level by this point. And they were working together because Red Dragons are mercenaries. You give them treasure, tell them to burn a village, they're happy to do it. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the rest of the Bandit Kingdoms had gotten rid of their Iusian overlords. So the Yo-Rays had finally reconquered Kinnameet from the orcs that had been there, and they were going to attack Kranzer in Riffkrag. And the big final battle was kind of like all the good people of the Bandit Kingdoms on the road to attack Kranzer in Riffkrag. But Kranzer met them out away from Riffkrag with his forces on the back of the dragon. And so there was one big fight of high APL table versus Kranzer and the dragon, which was just this amazing, 16th level PCs against the 18th level wizard and his massive dragon.
Isn't that the one where the guy had the card and screwed everything up? Or is that different?
No, that was earlier.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Wow.
But then the rest of the region, they were fighting level appropriate demons and whatnot that Kranzer was using, had summoned to protect Riffkrag. The Yo-Rays, there's a meta org for the Yo-Rays. Their mission was to recover a soul gem. Kranzer had turned the new king of the Yo-Rays into a soul gem through the Trap the Soul spell. And then he had given that soul gem to a Baylor to trade for demonic forces or something like that. So the PCs had to go fight the Baylor to get that soul gem back. The king of the O-Rays was a PC who had won the tournament in year 5, 6, or 7. He was a high school kid who then went to prom that night after becoming king of the O-Rays, triggering the Trap the Soul spell. He then had to go to prom, and I always used to tell people, I was like, I hope to God he didn't spend all night talking to his date about this. I think that was Kevin Simcox, awesome. Keith Simcox.
Nowadays it would work, but back then, no way.
Exactly. No, nowadays there might be a hot date, but back then,
get out of here. And the full story is detailed in my book, and it was awesome. He actually was the second place runner-up in the tournament. And the first place winner felt it was a female player, and I think she was playing a male character. She felt her character didn't deserve to be the king of the O-Rays. She was uncouth. The character was uncouth, not noble, just happened to be a really good fighter and won the tournament, which is what the O-Rays used to determine their leadership was through ritual combat. Wow. So she stepped down. She said, you know what? I'm not going to be king. I would like to be like leader of the military. And so we asked the high school kid who would come runner up. We're like, hey, Kevin, here's this opportunity for your PC, who was actually a paladin. He was one of the few paladins in the region who wasn't stupid. Here's a chance for he was a paladin cavalier multi-class, if I remember correctly, or prestige class build. He was ungodly on a horse with a lance in his hand. We were like, here's a chance for your character to become king of the O-Rays. And he was like, I accept. So we said, okay, kneel down. And Kevin got on his knees, and we had this toy crown, probably from Burger King or something, something like that. And we said, we made up words, and do you pledge to be the king of the O-Rays? And this is in front of a room full of like 100 people. And this 18-year-old high school kid on his prom night is going through this. So we put the crown on his head, and then everyone's applauding. And then I say, like, okay, he's gone. What do you all do? And everyone's like, what? And I pull him aside. I said, like, you just got trapped the soul. Go to prom, kid. I'll tell you what happened tomorrow. And kind of slapped him on the ass and sent him on his way.
Hanging like that too. Oh,
yeah. So what happened was Kranzer had cast Trap the Soul on the O-Ray's crown when no one was around and looking.
That is awful.
The instant they put it on his head, the Trap the Soul spell gets triggered, and Kranzer had a contingency for the gem to like teleport to his hand, or it automatically does in 3.5. I forget what the rule is. And the PCs are all stunned. They'd spent this entire interactive trying to figure out who their new king would be, and we just screwed them royally by taking their king away from them. And the rest of the storyline was them trying to find their king's soul gem. They had to go to the Abyss, rule it out. So we had an adventure on the Abyss.
Wow.
So that all goes into year 8, and the player that abdicated was crying in real life because she felt it was her fault that the PC got removed from the campaign. Obviously, you can't play your character if you're trapped in a soul gem.
So who did he play after that, or did he just say?
He had other PCs. He had backup PCs, and he was getting ready to go off to college. He was doing all that.
Man, that must have been an awful prom night.
Yeah. Yeah, must have been terrible.
I hope he didn't talk to his date about that.
I hope he did.
Awesome.
That would be awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a living campaign, and so, so anyway, the Battle of Riftcrag, the Yo-Rays PCs do find the Baylor, do defeat it in a very crazy, epic Baylor battle, recover the soul gem, shatter it, and get their king back. So the king is in his seat in Yo-Rays. Kranzer wasn't defeated. He actually fought off the PCs at the highest table. Him and the dragon fought off the PCs. So Riftcrag is fine. It's still in Iusian hands. I say fine, like it's a good thing. And silver is still flowing from the silver mines to Doraka as a result.
Okay.
The Tangles got completely denuded by Kranzer and Evil Fae. If on one version of my map or Anna's map, you'll notice it has a discoloration on the Tangles. Probably not this version, but the Tangles is denuded at the end of Living Greyhawk. And there's a green dragon and a druid living in the tangles, trying to figure out how to bring it back to life together. They're working together. Cool. Trying to think what else.
Well, that's
Zeech tells Ayuz to kiss his ass towards the end of Living Greyhawk and repents for his Hextorian sins, converts back to Hyronius, but he's like an ex-paladin, ex-cleric or whatever, and he orders the building of a temple of a temple of Hyronius next to the temple of Hextor he had built secretly during the Ayuzian era. And to me, this is Great Kingdom, right? Hextor and Hyronius next to each other. Great Kingdom.
That's cool.
Garland was the druid in the Tangles. Patrick. Garland was a great druid.
It sounds like you tied up a lot of loose ends, you know.
Well, we knew, right? They told us at the end of year 7. At Gen Con 2007, I believe they announced 4th edition, and people asked them, what are you doing with Living Greyhawk? Are we going to convert our characters to 4th edition? And they said, no, there will be Living Forgotten Realms. There will not be Living Greyhawk for 4th edition. Living Greyhawk will end at the end of 2008, but adventures will stop being released for it July 1st of 2008. Each region can do half their normal number of adventures to wrap up their plot lines and storylines.
Wow.
I think they knew that this was going to happen as early as 2003 because, as we've talked about on this show, early triads in year 0 were told, I think they knew this in 2005. Early triads were told, come up with a 5-year plot arc.
Right.
You should be prepared for the campaign to last 5 years. In 2005, they were told, come up with a 3-year plot arc this time. And that was kind of the first hint.
Yeah, that was when the contract with WotC and Paizo was going to end. I think that's what it was.
Right? Oh, like 2008?
Yeah.
And in 2007, they told us you need to have everything wrapped up by the summer of 2008. Adventures were still playable through the end of 2008. But as of January 1st, 2009, there was no Living Greyhawk campaign. Now, were people still playing in their basement? Sure, because you could have downloaded all the adventures.
Yeah.
And after the summer of 2008, no one gave a shit about the rules anymore. So people just started playing Bandit Kingdoms adventures in other states and vice versa, I'm sure.
Yeah.
That's just, when something's ending like that, all bets are off. Who cares about the rules? So.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and Asher the Bear is right. Dale's right. They dreamed of making us all play Forgotten Realms because that was they were going back to their hot baby, right?
Mm-hmm.
1E was Greyhawk, 2E was Forgotten Realms, 3E was Greyhawk, 4E was Forgotten Realms.
3.5 was neutral, so to speak. They kind of tried to weed out Greyhawk a bit in 3.5 compared to 3rd edition, but it was supposed, I guess, to be setting neutral in the books in 3.5, and then 4th edition, Forgotten Realms. Yeah.
Well, Casey, thanks a lot for this in-depth time. We found a lot of stuff we didn't know. I mean, a lot.
Oh man, that amazes me because I've been on this show so many times. I feel like
we haven't talked that deep about
Bandit
Kingdom. Exactly.
No,
it's been a while since we've had a pure BK show, and plus where I don't have any of my buddies joining me, and we start, stories and getting sidetracked and whatnot. We barely touched on the Bandit Kingdoms meta orgs, but I could probably be talked into sharing some of these documents because I don't think it's illegal to do so. I just can't share any of the adventures.
Right. So hopefully you guys and gals out there all got a really nice feel for Bandit Kingdoms. There's no reason if you can get a hold of this stuff that it's great supplements for your own campaign. That's why
for research purposes only.
Yeah. Well, that NPC thing you have there that would be great.
I hope people will find that useful if you're still running 3.5, and they'd be easy to convert to Pathfinder.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they're fun. Gummy the Bouncer is fun. I'm not trying to say alcoholism is fun, but he's a drunken master.
Yeah.
And, it pairs with a more modern take. This is Rook Roof. We'll just can't say that legally.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. All right. Great one tonight. Very cool. There's a lot going on. This time next week I will be hopefully having a Gavin, but we're going to talk about that on Sunday. So let me do some quickie shout outs. We'll do the giveaways, and then we'll find someone to raid into. So let's start. Mike, what is going on with you, man?
Not a whole lot. I will see you all at GaryCon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we need to get together our Legends and Lore for Thursday.
Right.
That Thursday, still we got to get that together. So
working on it.
Awesome. Yep. Very good. Cool to hear. Mike, thanks a lot. So we'll go to Anna next. What's up, Anna?
I've just wrapped up my all the slides for my seminar, 66 of them. I think that's a record for my own, and some of them will be shown probably. There's some graphics and stuff that will be shown on the earlier ones too. But I've lined up 66 slides for my 2-hour presentation on Sunday, and then there is some extra stuff for the Troll Lord stuff about Altamira and stuff
Fancy
like that.
Mapping show.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay. Zippity, a Spelljammer and a Dragonlance stream one. I'm trying to stream. No thanks. I'm trying to quit. Like Fletch would say. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I got some ideas here. So, all right. Anna and I will talk a little bit more on Sunday. Anna will be live from Josh's basement Sunday, so that'll be.
That just sounds messed up.
Well,
like she's a prisoner.
Yep.
Maybe she is.
I go and take over. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Well, he would deserve that.
None of those. I got some ideas here. I'm looking. Anna, thanks a lot again. And you said you're taking off on Friday, right, to head over there. And
yep.
Mm-hmm. I know you're going to Bill Meinhardt's house, aren't you?
Yeah, I think that's the plan. We'll see. What happens when I arrive. Cool. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. What do you got going on, Casey?
I've been a little busy. I got a small promotion at work, which was nice after being there for 2 years. So I've been just a little busy with work stuff. D&D wise, my Ghosts of Saltmarsh group, we met last week. They're all like 10th and approaching 11th level now, which means we're approaching the final adventure of the actual book. Cool. One set in the Styes. It might be called the Styes. I forget what it's called. Mike, you probably remember from when you ran it.
That's cool.
So I've been running them through some filler adventures on that one, and they've just run into a whole bunch of Kraken stuff. Spoilers for Ghosts of Saltmarsh. There's some things that tie into Krakens in that book. So that was fun. We had a big crazy fight on Saturday that was them a bunch. I've got 8 PCs in this campaign, so stuff gets crazy. My Candlekeep group is every other Monday, and I think they've just now reached level or 11th level. They're doing one adventure per level. They work in Candlekeep, and then adventure happens. So, and a couple more adventures, we will reach Tony's Crazy Druid adventure towards the back of that book, Jay, that you would run. Yeah. So that's a lot of fun as well. I've got ideas in the back of my head about writing the unofficial history of living Greyhawk. I'd really like to start on that project as soon as I get a little bit more free time. Trying to get Principality of Ulick on the show. I'm trying to get Stephen Conforti on the show. Trying to get another time for the Europeans. Maybe we could do a Saturday or Sunday, Jay, to get more of the Europeans with Creighton Broadhurst and other European Triad members to join.
Yeah, because I'm going to have another show with Rob Kuntz. So,
and that's also a European time zone.
Mm-hmm.
Corsica.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
That's
so
CET. Yeah.
I kind of backburnered my Too Many Gods project. I haven't really touched it since last summer, but I want to finish it. Instead, I'm going to run, for the first time since COVID, I'm going to run an in-person game in my house. We haven't had in-person. Yeah, we haven't had in-person since February of 2020.
You're painful, Josh.
for years now, I've been kickstarting various lower end 3D rain products, skinny minis. I'll just give them a quick plug, and Jay, you should get them. You would never use them, right? They're 2-dimensional, but I like cheaper, pretty minis, and I don't have all the paint time in the world. But anyway, they do terrain. You can put together houses and stuff like that. So it won't be J level terrain. But so I invited people over in April to do a one-shot. We're going to do 4th level, 5 NPCs, and I think I'm just going to have them defend a town against, a monster. And I've got a trebuchet mini now, probably the WizKids one, and I'm just going to go bonkers. But it's the first time I'll have in-person D&D, so I'm really excited about that.
I haven't had in-person since before COVID, so yeah.
In-persons, there's nothing like it.
Yeah,
that's why I'm so excited about Gary Con. All right, I'm not gonna go over much here. Just do this real quick. Tomorrow night is the final session of the Race to Crovis. They fought multiple Scarlet Brotherhoods and some now mutated trolls, and they think they have this brooch symbol of Crovis, and they think that maybe, as the legends go, Crovis is buried somewhere in the Pomage, where, and it could be where they are. So we'll find out tomorrow night. Miniature Building Authority, it's a quarterly $75 and $25 gift certificate giveaway. So it's the largest dollar amount I give away on any stream quarterly, and that's it tomorrow night. And then we'll have a Gabbard on Sunday, and then a lot going on at Gary Con. More than I care to even comprehend it, I'm doing. But if you're going to the Altamira comes to aired seminar, which is at the Chop House, and that's on Friday around lunchtime, I have finished in honor of the Free City of Greyhawk box set. I have finished the Free City of Altamira First Adventure card, a call for immediate assistance, and he looked even using some of my, so it's a 2-pager. There you go. In card stock. Anyone going to that will get a copy of it. So, yes. And TLG already pre-approved it, so I know we're good to go there with that. And just got some fun things going on. So, that's about it for tonight. How's that sound? All right.
Yeah, you guys have fun at GaryCon. One of these years I might make it out there.
Yeah.
Yes. We're going to have a blast. And 2-drink minimum. We'll be playing that on Saturday. I mean, I got so much going on. Just from Wednesday through Saturday. The only day I have something Sunday. I have something every day. I should be streaming every single day, by the way, at some point. Everyone Wednesday through Sunday, at least once. So I'll give you the schedule Sunday night. Okay, sound good? All right. Giveaways. Last call. One Casey will send. One I will send. All right.
Okay.
The book, and then
absolutely. So we have 3 winners.
2. We're gonna do 2. One winner, one book, right? 2 separate winners, right?
Oh, you're gonna keep your copy. You don't have an extra.
No, I don't have an extra.
Yeah, you've given them all away. Yes, I will absolutely to continental United States, because I think Canada and overseas is crazy. But
yeah,
well, you know what? Print on demand. I may be able to figure that out.
Amazon, if you ship it through Amazon and you order it and ship it through Amazon to a Canada one, it's not bad. That's not.
I'm saying, as the author, I can order copies and have it shipped from, like, say, Amazon Japan or Amazon UK or something.
Oh, good. That's good to see.
So we'll figure it out.
Here we go. Autographed. I don't know if he can get them autographed. No. First of all, William Henry Dvorak, that's his book. I don't have the autographed copies.
Right.
And then Casey.
I might be able to, if I do have extras here, if I do, and I think it makes sense, then I will certainly write an inscription from Ayuz himself in it and send it to you.
Awesome.
Because I think 10 people or 20 people have inscribed copies already from the previous,
20.
The charity, where I got drunk one night and I wrote 20 Ayuzian inscriptions.
So here's what mine says. Mine says, give Morgenstaller a kiss per me. There you go.
For me or from me?
It says per. Is that what it says? Terrible hand for me. I couldn't even.
Yeah, my handwriting.
Yeah, my handwriting's terrible.
And like I said, I was getting drunk when I was writing that.
Yes, which makes it even better and more memorable. All right, here we go. Closing this out, let's see who wins tonight. Well,
so I've got my notebook ready to write down there.
First winner gets their choice of the two. Closing it out. M5 tie-in.
Barry Kirmingham for the win.
Began won are the two winners. As long as they're on to claim. M5 tie-in and Began won. You're in M5 tie-in. You tell us which one you want. You want Rook Roost or the Bandit Kingdom summary book? And all right, so whichever one Began at M5 does not take, you are getting. So it's up to M5 tie-in to tell us which one he's getting. You got the Bandit Kingdom summary.
All right.
So, all right. So Whisper. Doing Whisper. Do write in Whisper chat to our Draco. Put your name in there, Casey, so he can whisper to you full name and address. Beacon, I got you for the Ravens Rook book. We're good to go. Everyone, thank you all so very much. By the way, if I owe you a Troller Games gift certificate, it's coming. It's just Chuck's a little behind again, so no big deal. All right, we're gonna raid into Guild Superior. Because they're going to be at GaryCon too. So let's give them some love, and I think you're going to be doing a couple shows there.
Yeah, can't wait to see them
as well. Yeah, definitely. So, Casey, Anna, Mike, thanks. Great show, great discussion.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks,
Casey.
guys.
Thank you, Casey.
Two more shows and then GaryCon Thursday night, Sunday night this week. I got the whole weekend to prep and get family stuff done before I'm gone for an entire week there. So,
what's the topic on Sunday night?
I don't. GaryCon. I think what I'm going to do, and a lot of people ask, like someone asked what this was. I think I'm going to do a campaign Q&A. I think I'm going to do an Orderville campaign Q&A the first half, and then GaryCon the second half.
You know who you should do that with? Ed Greenwood. What do you think about your campaign movie,
right?
Mr. Ed?
There's no way I'm going to get Ed in 3 days.
You know, he's on his way to GaryCon too. So
yeah,
you would get him on.
I would bet $100 you could make that happen.
I don't.
You can broadcast from GaryCon with Ed and
I'm going
pop
to be back.
into
the movie drops this weekend for the early previews. Yeah. Then he can talk about it.
Well, I got Ed. I'm going to be DMing for Ed live, and Anna and Eric Mengi and at GaryCon.
Hey, I want to see. Roll initiative, Ed. What was your involvement with the movie?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, I will ask. I promise I will ask him at some point. Jay, take the bet and win $100. Yeah, I should. All right, we'll see you all. See you all tomorrow night, 7:30. Great. The biggest giveaway we have of each quarter. $100. We're giving away gift certificates tomorrow night. See you all then. Have a good one. Wrong button coming.
Hope everyone had fun and enjoyed the show.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It was great fun for me reliving this stuff too, and thank you to my buddy Patrick in the audience, Baron Ulick himself.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, Patrick's a good guy. You can find him on our Greyhawk related Discord channels as well. So
it's always fun to see witnesses to.
What actually happened. I agree.
Because some of it you wouldn't believe unless you'd have been
almost 100. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See you tomorrow. Just make sure that went.
Yep.
All right. That was good stuff. Sorry I couldn't make the POU or Conforti happen, but I think it was really good. Hopefully, the good numbers and good audience.
Yeah, 96 is good numbers. Yeah.
Yeah, just for the rating,
That's really good numbers. Yeah.
Good.